Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
They're going to throw, and they're going to score. It is Thornton celebrating with his teammates.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Looking that way is Prescott throwing that way, and that's going to be caught for the touchdown by Amari Cooper.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Fiedler for three. Yes.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
My. The sledgehammer of the Big 12 men's basketball race standings schedule has now caught up to Kansas after losing Saturday in Waco. Yesterday, last night in Fort Worth, TCU, who's really playing pretty well. They've now won against, two top 10 teams. They beat Texas Tech, and now they knocked out Kansas, at least last night. Both teams play again tomorrow in Lawrence. And Baylor, who about 2 weeks ago looked like they were sliding away from any chance of winning the Big 12 championship as far as the regular season, they now have a lead. Texas Tech still now has a chance because of Kansas's loss. And so many different scenarios. Paul Catalina to my left, Craig Smoak to my right, David Smoak with all three, Jack McKenzie, Emery Winter, and Armstrong Sims in the studio. We're going to hear from Daryl Johnston. We had him on recently on the USFL. He is the Executive Vice President of Football Operations, but he also played for George DeLeon at Syracuse, as did Blake Blackmar, who will join us here in about 30 minutes. Coach DeLeon, Craig gave me the note yesterday evening, had passed away. Former Baylor. He's also been in the NFL. Mack Rhoades' staff. He passed away yesterday, and the response from former players and those who knew him has been overwhelming. So we'll have DJ, the Moose Johnston here in just a moment to talk about that. Plus many other things. Mack Rhoades today, a college basketball writer. But let's start, and we do need to hit Coach Daryl Johnston at 3:10. Let's start with this. Baylor now in control of their own destiny when it comes to the Big 12 championship as far as getting a share. They win Saturday against Iowa State in the evening. They get at least a piece of it. Kansas still has TCU in Texas, and then Texas Tech plays at Oklahoma State. I didn't see this coming 2 or 3 weeks ago.
No, and, a couple weeks ago it looked like Kansas was in control, but Baylor had their head above water the whole time, and all it takes is, a fortunate, schedule bounce here and there, and Baylor rallying and kind of reinventing themselves, beating Kansas and Texas, and now Kansas, had 3 games this week. They play again tomorrow night, again against TCU, and then they play again on Saturday against Texas in a game that both those teams are going to want really, really bad. So it's really interesting down the stretch here in the Big 12.
Yeah, pretty shocking. I don't think anybody expected TCU to win that game last night. We all knew that if they were going to knock off Kansas, it was probably going to have to be last night. Being in Fort Worth, having that home crowd behind you, and I wasn't expecting it by any means. You can point to, TCU's the best rebounding team. Okay, that's great. I still don't expect them to beat Kansas. Yeah, they could be the top of everything. I'm still not expecting them to beat Kansas last night, especially with Kansas knowing what's on the line and that they don't have any room for error, and yet here we are, and TCU, looked good and did their thing and played hot in front of a hot crowd. The home crowd obviously loved seeing a rare win like that, and so that was good for that program. And just a bad turn of events for Kansas. The championship, they're basically extending their arms and just saying, hey, you're only a couple feet away from grabbing this thing. Just win a couple more games and it's all yours. And, that wasn't to be the case, or at least it doesn't appear to be the case exactly right now. It could still be when all is said and done. Baylor goes out and lays an egg, which I'm not expecting, but if they were to, then Kansas would still be able to win it outright. But what a blessing for Baylor basketball.
And the loss not only gave Baylor control of their own destiny, but also gave Texas Tech that outside opportunity based on what may happen this weekend. They play at Oklahoma State. And Kansas can finish anywhere from outright Big 12 champions of the regular season to third place based on where they are now, who they are now, and who they have coming up as well. So that was a huge win. Jamie Dixon and company with wins against both Texas Tech and now Kansas in Fort Worth, and really playing well as they end the regular season here by the end of the weekend. Jerry Palm, Joe Lenardi, they have, of course, put out their bracketology. We mentioned Joe Lenardi yesterday. Baylor was a number 1 seed. Arizona, they won big last night. Also, Kansas was a number 1 seed, and you know that most likely will change, and they can still win their last 2. We'll see what happens. And Gonzaga, another number 1 seed. Today, though, updated overnight by Jerry Palm, CBS Sports, his number 1 seeds are Gonzaga, Auburn, Arizona, Baylor, Kansas a 2 seed, Tech is a 3 seed, Purdue was a 3 seed but lost to Wisconsin last night. That was another game that happened. Texas a 5 seed, TCU now a 7 seed, and 6 seeds include Iowa State, who plays in Waco, who will play in Waco Saturday, and Houston at a 6 seed as well. So they get a lot of way to go. A lot of things happen, but bottom line, I did not, when I think it was the game they lost, not at Kansas, but what am I thinking about here? Who am I thinking about here? I guess that was it. I thought that Baylor probably, it's one of those where you're 2 games behind a couple of different teams. You've already lost to one, and then you've been swept by another team that's right there with you in Texas Tech, and here they are. Well, they put their heads down and got through it. And
if anybody wants to correct me if I'm wrong here, but I did go and check this the other day. If Baylor and Kansas are tied, I still think Kansas gets it because Baylor is 0-2 against Tech.
Again, that's the first tiebreaker.
They get the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
But as far as a share of the Big 12 championship,
people ask me like, it's co-champ. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. I mean, it's not winning it outright, but it's, you'll still have a Big 12 championship trophy. You'll still have regular season champions. You'll be listed with another team potentially, but look, Kansas has got to win both their games too. Baylor has to win a game. So, we were talking yesterday and there was nobody talking about TCU upsetting Kansas and even talking about this being a subject today, but here we are. So, I'm not quick to just go ahead and paint the picture like it's finished now because we thought it was finished yesterday, and look where we are. But, they would be the number 2 seed based on the first tiebreaker, which is the Texas Tech 3 seed. Baylor went 0-2. Kansas went 1-1. Simple as that. Kansas would be the number 1 seed in the tournament.
2 things matter. Getting a share or trying to get a piece of the Big 12 title. And yes, the number 1 seed in the Big 12 tournament helps. But the quarterfinal round matchups next week in Kansas City are going to be insane. And the other thing that matters is where you are as a seed when it comes to the NCAA tournament, because it also could affect where you play, where you're placed, and also, of course, the bracket which you have as well. So that happened last night, and TCU, they were pretty much the team that controlled that game. It got down to 4. Abaji had a chance to hit a 3, didn't happen. TCU hit the free throws down the stretch, dominated the game in a lot of ways. And now Bill Self and the Jayhawks are reeling for who they are with a 2-game losing streak, with still a game tomorrow night at home and then Texas as well.
Whatever it's or solely in possession of or whatever. I mean, when you go and look at banners from now on, if things play out the way that you would expect them to play out now, Baylor's going to have a conference championship to brag about again for the 2nd year in a row. That's a big deal. Like when you go and read the media guide, it's going to say potentially, 2022 in there. And that's a big deal. That's another championship to add to your treasure chest there. So regardless of how they get it done or how much of a tie there is at the top or whatever, I think for them to go from before last weekend looking like they had probably 0 shot because they'd need so much help, and help just being a Kansas loss, but they'd have to also beat Kansas, which wasn't a guarantee. So to see them fall twice and open up that door is pretty surprising. But last night watching the score there at the end and started seeing a bunch of people chirping about, oh my gosh, Kansas is down this much with 2 minutes left and down this much with 90 seconds left, and went from it's like somebody said that and it went from 12 to 4 in 10 seconds. And I was like, oh, what, great. Here comes Kansas to, pull another one out. But no, that wasn't to be the case. And again, congrats to Jamie Dixon and TCU. That's a great story for them. They're a tough team. And that's a big deal for that program, and it's a big deal, obviously, for other programs as well. And who knew TCU would be throwing an alley-oop to Baylor like that?
Based on what is left and who is left, there's a chance that all 6 teams that get in the tournament could end up at least 500 or better in the Big 12, based on the fact TCU has still 2 games left, and Iowa State has Oklahoma State at home, and then Baylor as well. As we mentioned as well, one of the stories yesterday evening, Daryl Johnston played at Syracuse. We're going to try to get him here momentarily along with Blake Blackmar. Yesterday evening, the story, Craig sent me a note that George DeLeon had gone into hospice. And then next thing you know, it's Ryan Miller, I think, is the one who posted it on his Twitter feed, a former Baylor player. And then next thing you know, he was gone. And Ryan Miller had mentioned what Coach DeLeon had meant to him. I did send a text to Matt Rhoades. He's at the NFL Combine, I'm sure, with all the others. And I just said, I'm sorry to hear. I know what Coach DeLeon meant to you. And he just said he was so special. That's all. That was the quick response. Later in the day, when he had a chance to respond to me, I had one story about him that I'll tell, but go ahead. You had something you were going to add?
Yeah, I was going to say that I don't even know how I stumbled across it the other night, because not a lot of people were talking about it, but I came across a post and somebody was saying, send your prayers to George DeLeon, and that he had gone into hospice. And this was probably a couple of days ago. And so I had sent a text originally like, oh my gosh, I think he passed, because I didn't read it properly. Then I realized, oh no, okay, it was a hospice thing. And then it was shortly thereafter when there was, then another announcement that he had passed away. And I saw David Wetzel from Baylor posting the picture of him using the condiments containers and all the little things that you have on your table at a restaurant, using those as offensive linemen and marking out a play and teaching coaches. There's a really cool picture of him from a couple years back in Waco doing that. Unfortunate news. I would imagine, and I don't know, we haven't really – I know you've kept more in touch with Matt Rhule. I haven't really so much, obviously, in the last couple of years because he's been in Carolina, but I would imagine he's crushed, and a lot of other people are as well. I know George DeLeon was very beloved. He was like the old grandpa when he was around here. We didn't see a ton of him because he had that injury, remember? He had that fall, and he was on the cane. Trip. And so he had to go from offensive line coach to basically like a special analyst assistant of sorts, and that led to Sean Bell, remember?
Yep.
And, I mean, like, you think about George DeLeon and that domino effect that had. You really look back on that. That was, a big moment in Sean Bell's career and caused a lot of moving around, or caused some moving around. But, yeah, just a swell guy from what I encountered, which wasn't a whole lot really, but very unfortunate news, and I imagine very tough for Matt Rhule and a lot of those former Baylor coaches.
Well, Taylor Bryant also sent me a few text messages last night. He was telling me, hey, here's a couple other guys you may want to contact. One of them is Josh Cochran, who's on the Joey McGuire staff at Tech, and among others, Patrick Lawrence, who lives right above us, former Baylor offensive lineman. And Mo, I saw when Mo Porter tweeted something out as well. But the one story about George DeLeon, he's 73, I believe, when he passed away. Taylor Bryant set me up to get an assistant coach basically almost once a week. And so I was in his office, and you walk into his office, and, I mean, here's a guy. He looks like John Madden in a way, kind of that same type of look, disheveled hair, the nicest guy in the world, teddy bear, but a hell of a coach, a long-time coach. So I sit down, and I said, what do you got going on? He goes, well, this is pretty amazing. He described of what it was like in the day when there was game film, and you had to splice it. And to get cut-ups of position groups or plays, now you can just, it just like automatically. I'm not saying it happens in a matter of seconds. And he told me, he goes, have you ever seen the floor, if you have a big family, on Christmas morning and you don't pick up the wrapping paper and put it in the trash bags, what's it look like on the floor, which is an absolute mess. He said that's the way it looked before when we had to splice game film, the old film. He goes, we'd have hundreds of yards of film, and most of it we didn't need, and then we would get it mixed up. We'd splice the wrong things. He goes, it was hours upon hours upon hours of work, and now what it took hours to do, and a mess, is now done just like that, basically because of technology.
Yeah, Armstrong and Jack can cut something out in minutes.
No, it
seconds.
really can't. I mean, it's pretty amazing when we record something and get it up or whatever it might be. So miss him. And I missed him. And Sean Bell, I just sent a note to Sean. I said, I'm sorry. And he goes, yeah, no doubt. He was a great man, as everybody. We'll have Mack Rhoades at 4:20 to discuss him as well. Is DJ not available?
Yeah, he sent a text saying he'd call back as soon as.
Okay, that's good.
It might have been an automated text, but.
You want to take a break here?
Yeah, it might be better.
Let's do a break. In case he calls back, we could always come out of it early if we need to. Blake Blackmar, bottom of the hour, more recent player. But I want to thank, I believe it was Rex who texted me last night and said, hey, I just want to let you know, George DeLeon coached Daryl Johnston. And then I started looking through the Wikipedia, and he damn sure did at Syracuse. He was an offensive line coach, an offensive coordinator. And so I reached out to Daryl, knowing we just had him on. I said, can you just come on and talk about Coach DeLeon? So we'll try to get to him. Chat room is open on the YouTube, 365 Sports. Text line is open at 254-339-1122. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco. A hidden gem. They always got cool stuff going on. They're always rotating new products through, whether it's Happy Dad Hard Seltzer and having their owners in, or different bourbons, high-end bourbons, great craft beers. That's what they do at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. The variety is absolutely out of this world, and they're always changing things up. They're always trying to find what the customers like, what they want, what's going on. If it's new, if it's hip, if it's fresh, it's probably at Riverbend Liquor and Wine, because they are on the cusp of everything. And right now we're getting into springtime, which means new craft beers on the roster. Steve Chapman always turning that roster at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
1, 2. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott at edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Save big during the President's Day sales event at Allen Samuels. The new 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L has total values of $2,000. For all first responders, get an extra $500. Shop the new car inventory for power, performance, style, and reliability today from their huge new car and truck inventory only at Allen Samuels in Waco. Now's the time to drive the amazing Jeep Grand Cherokee L you want.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Hey, one note. We had CJ Moore yesterday on this show, writes for theathletic.com. He had written a story about Jeremy Sohan after the win against Kansas on Saturday. He was down there for the game in Austin against Texas as well. And he mentioned to us he has a story he was going to come out with, and he sent it to me, and it's been up on Twitter. I'm sure if you have a subscription to The Athletic or not, hopefully you can get it, find it, whatever. Behind the scenes with Baylor as the defending champion, national champion, keeps its repeat dreams alive. It's very in-depth. There's a quote in here from Adam Fiedler that Coach Drew gets so worked up that, he's just full throttle. We all know that. And there's a quote from Adam Fiedler that sometimes he says, we're almost waiting for him to have a heart attack. We're all looking at each other like he's about to have a heart attack. And it's really, really good. It's really great. It's from Coach Tang and Coach Jacobs, among others, with quotes as well. And basically, they've lost. They've had 3 consecutive games in which they've trailed at halftime, and even Coach Drew said that to us last week. He said, I guess I need to do a better job in the pregame speech rather than having to do whatever we do at halftime. So that right there is out. CJ Moore behind the scenes with Baylor. We're going to have TL Fiedler on the show later on today at 5 o'clock. She's the director, producer of the ESPN Plus, what's it called?
Our Time.
Our Time. She's going to join us at 5 o'clock with some of the background stories that she's seen as they have made this run, both men and women, throughout the last 2 to 3 weeks as well. All right, so the Kansas loses, TCU wins. They play again tomorrow. George DeLeon. Craig, did you ever have a chance to get any kind of a group media session with him? Anything you remember most about him? He's just an old pro. He's a pro's pro.
No, not really, because the assistants, I think he talked maybe once or twice. That was about it. So, nothing I remember very vividly. I don't know if he even talked a couple of times. I really don't even recall. I know he talked to some assistants on occasion, but no, he was pretty much out of the picture because he wasn't a main assistant most of the time. Because, again, he had that accident, and he was more of an analyst behind-the-scenes guy. So if he talked, it was pretty early on, and then he was just sort of out of the picture. You'd see him walking around with his cane or, whatever. But, no, nothing really because we didn't hear him that much. But I know based on all the feedback in all the different schools that have put out, messages and whatnot now that he was obviously very well traveled, had been a lot of different places and made a lot of different impacts on a lot of different lives. So, again, I'm sure Matt Rhule and a lot of people are down in the dumps today and missing him, and just sad news.
Yeah, he's been everywhere. He's been at basically all across the country when it comes to both college and also pro football.
I remember it wasn't the first press conference he had, but it was the one he had the next year when they were talking about maybe it might have been going into spring after that first year, maybe 2018 spring, and asked him about what kind of change you make. He goes, well, we have human beings in the room now, and he's like, yeah, we had. Everybody knows that we didn't have a lot. He goes, we had 6 guys. Mm-hmm. He's like, first day, you meet with them, and he goes, I watched six guys come in, and then I asked one of them, where are the rest of you? And they're like, there are no rest of us. Yeah. That's it. And he said, so what do you mean? I'm going to have – I've got 5 starters and a backup in here right now. So that means that you have to back up all 5 positions.
Well, we're going to have we'll ask Blake about that story as well. But you're right. They had 6 scholarship offensive linemen the first year. And, of course, they've had years where they've struggled with who they've had as far as the numbers or depth or whatever on the offensive line. From the chat room, from Scotty B., the Baylor King, not always a win for Kansas at home. Besides, Kansas got beat by Kentucky at home. TCU's playing there tomorrow, and they're not Kentucky. Now, they're playing well and obviously feel very confident, but they also tomorrow, Kansas could turn around and win by 20, and they could just be in a funk, and sometimes that happens. Mike Bean, who's a huge Kansas fan, Bill Self's record at Allen Fieldhouse. Listen to this. 264 wins, 14 losses. They have more Big 12 championships, regular season championships, than they have losses at Allen Fieldhouse in Bill Self's time there. He also has never lost on senior night. And again, there's always a first time. There's always a first time. So Mike's doesn't seem to be too worried about it. But bottom line is the loss last night opened the door for Baylor to have a chance to get at least a share of the Big 12 championship if they take care of their own business.
250 games over 500.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. And a lot of those have been against Scott Drew and Baylor. I mean, they've gone up there once or twice and been
not
able
as
to,
much lately though.
No.
I mean, that's been the tale. That's why there's been a change, because it's not happening as often as maybe as it used to. But yeah, I mean, they've been on a ridiculous streak. They've been the Oklahoma football to the Big 12 and basketball pretty much, and now obviously these last couple of years have changed that with. Tech 3 years ago making a final, and then there was COVID. If not for that, then maybe Tech or Baylor or Kansas make a run that year, and then last year Baylor wins it. So they've had some competition around them, but yeah, I mean, they're an incredible program. They're a top 5 all-time program in college basketball. But yeah, they got a little bit of competition, more than they've ever had in this conference right now, and it's showing. But, I expect them to go out and win these next 2. I would be shocked if they lost one of these next 2 and somehow open the door for Baylor to have sole possession. So I think they'll bounce back. But I did have a couple people like, what's KU's deal? What's the funk? I mean, Paul's the one with the KU girlfriend, so maybe he can tell us from the personal perspective of what they, are viewing right now.
I can tell abject anger last night was what I experienced, and I had nothing to do with it, but which is good. I guess it's on my end. I'm not TCU. So
the differences between her demeanor Saturday night, watching it live, and blaming that on you, and then last night in Fort Worth watching it on TV.
Yeah, on her phone. Like, she didn't want to watch it. She was following. Okay. She gets, but no, I do think that they're concerned with just the way. The bench isn't really doing anything for them right now. Didn't do anything for them against Baylor. They only, the Baylor game was essentially, Ochai Abaji scored and Christian Brown scored, and nobody else really got all that much involved. And David McCormick's a good player, but it's kind of David McCormick, for people who don't watch him all the time, is kind of like their Flo Thamba, where they want more out of him, even though Flo's giving them more, but more is never going to be enough. They want.
You're saying that Flo Thamba is better than McCormick?
No. I'm saying it's to Kansas fans. It's the same thing.
Okay.
It's the comparison of like, man, they just want a little bit more out of him.
Yeah.
But when they do get a little bit more, it's still not enough, because there's a couple plays a game where, for example, Baylor Flo will will drop a pass that's right in his hands and create a turnover, and that causes tension. David McCormick, will just have games where he's not as consistent. So that's kind of the problem with Kansas, But then again, they have 2 consecutive games at home, Thursday and Saturday night, and the only thing I would worry about if I'm them is fatigue, having 4 games in a week.
Well, here's the deal. Everyone has a funk. Texas Tech has had not a long. I mean, again, not the guys at the top haven't had one long, but Baylor lost those games back to back. The Tech and Oklahoma State not only lost, they lost at home.
Texas Tech doesn't go into a streaky funk. They just go into a random loss out of nowhere. Like, what the hell was that kind of a funk?
Blood pressure shoots up. Yeah. And Mike Bean, you seem to be, I know We have said David McCormick has not been 100%. We've mentioned Remy Martin has been out. He hasn't played well since he's gotten back. It's going to take time, just like the players at Baylor when they've come back. It doesn't mean you just get right back into it. My God, we saw last year's team that was one of the best we've seen in a long, long time. It took them a full week and a half, 2 weeks, and really getting through the Big 12 tournament before their legs were where they needed to be and be in the mode to just rip apart that NCAA tournament. And by the way, TCU is a gritty, tough team that's playing at a pretty good level themselves at about the time when Kansas has to play 4 games in 7 days, 3 games in a week, and that doesn't help either. But they do at least get the game tomorrow night and the game on this weekend on Saturday at home. So
I would just tell you, reading Hilda Brown's comment, Paul on tippy toes, skating on eggshells here. Yes, I am, very much so. But it would help if we got Bill Self on this show. Not as much as we get Scott Drew, but it would help me personally, just in my home life.
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Also from let's see. About Mike bringing up rebounding, the rebounds now. I mean, that's it should be one of their strengths.
Yeah.
And BU Bear, TCU's a really good offensive rebounding team. And in fact, if you realize when Baylor played them, that was one of the things they had to focus on, because if they were kind of struggling at times with the boards. And going into that game last time they played TCU, that was one of the number one things. Other than make shots, play defense, we've got to make sure they don't kill us on the boards.
I'm impressed with Jamie Dixon bouncing back and winning 2 big games, them beating Texas Tech and Kansas in the last week. After the game against Baylor, kind of emasculated them playing with 6 players.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be a tough loss to all there going, they're only going to run 6 guys out on the floor. And not only did they lose to Baylor, Baylor took it to them.
Yeah, no, they go and see now they're in their own little peak. They're kind of peaking a little bit right now. I don't know if they're peaking. They got to take care of business Saturday. And I don't know what somebody on the I don't know who it was. I just got away from the chat room. Who are the 2 teams most likely to get to the Big 12 championship game? You know what? I don't gamble and I don't bet on games. I'm not very good at predicting things either. I can't tell you. You'd think, okay, Baylor, Texas Tech, or Kansas and Texas Tech, or Baylor and Kansas. I don't know.
I mean, I'm still putting my money on 2 of those 3 if I have to put money down. But, I mean, just that's if gun to my head, you got to make a bet, then I'm going to take some combination of 2 of those 3. And Baylor will probably be one of those given the way they're playing right now. But, yeah, I mean, last year Texas jumped up and won the tournament. So, I mean, it's anybody's game.
Blake Blackmar, we'll try to get to Daryl Johnston if we can after this segment with Blake. He's in a meeting right now. Blake Blackmar, one of the friends of the show, the best barbecue guy you could imagine. Former Baylor offensive lineman joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Blake, thanks for your time. When you heard the news that Coach DeLeon had passed away, what went through your mind? Memories of him as a man, a coach, a person, etc.
Hey, guys, what's going on? Coach McGuire actually was the first one to text me and a couple of other former linemen. And the first thing that went through my mind was Pat Lawrence, my buddy, my partner in crime, right? He and I have been hanging out. The last couple of times we've hung out the last month, we always talked about, we need to call Coach DeLeon. And we would laugh about whenever he would, he had no idea how to FaceTime. He had his own personal phone was a flip phone, but his Baylor phone was an iPhone, right? And so he would FaceTime the tech guy to get someone to come fix the film, because he was always watching film, right? So he'd FaceTime the tech guy and then put it up to his ear, and you would just hear the tech guy going, "Coach, all I can see is your ear. I need you to make it face the computer, please."
Oh my God!
Just tons of great memories of playing for him. Memories of him as a man, just a very impactful human being. Someone who played and coached football for years and years. Did just about everything.
Blake, I mentioned before the segment that the first story I remember him telling was his first day meeting you guys, and there were only 6 of you, and he felt initially that he couldn't start the meeting because he thought there were more guys coming. Right.
I honestly do not think I'll ever forget our first day with Coach DeLeon. Right. So we have a morning workout, and all the new coaches are coming. And so after we finish the workout, we all kind of huddle up. We're going to meet him, right? And he comes. He's got a cane. He's got a knee brace on. This is like 7 a.m. or something. He's got a cane and a knee brace, and he's kind of limping over, a little hunched up, and he's just got this real serious look on his face with the glasses. And he comes over, and he's just got this deep, kind of rough voice. He's just, man, and talk to us about who he was and everything. And he stops about halfway through, and his knee brace looks like it was maybe from the 40s, right? And so he stops about halfway through. We're all sweaty and tired from the workout. He goes, sorry, this brace is bothering me. So he rolls it down, and his knee is like facing, is not facing the correct direction. just like, I was just like, what? This guy shouldn't be. This guy needs to be in like the hospital or something. Like, man, he is like he's out here. I looked at Pat and I was like, is he trying to out-tough us? Is he trying to make a statement right now on the first day? And then later that day in the meeting, our first meeting, right? Again, there's like only 6 of us. He's going over scheme, and someone had like, I don't know if it was him or if it was someone else, had been eating at his desk and hadn't thrown away all the trash yet. And so he smeared like, or he had cut himself. No, that's what it was. He cut himself on his arm, didn't realize it, drew up about 16 plays on the whiteboard and smeared blood on his forearm over the whole board, and then turns around and goes, who's still ketchup on the board? It's just like a first day prank, guys. What are we doing here? Are we here to coach? Are we here to learn football? Or are we here to be funny? And it was just, we were like, what the hell is going on?
Oh my God.
That's amazing. Like, I don't even know if there's any questions that are going to be able to top all of that. Wow,
No.
that's hilarious. Blake, obviously he was dealing with a lot. Sean Bell eventually took over as offensive line coach. Was that in 2018 that Sean took over?
Yeah.
Okay. So how much did you think that just the, I guess, mentorship, so to speak, and just the football knowledge that George DeLeon had, how did you see that passed down to guys like Sean Bell and others?
So it's kind of a weird situation, right? So the first year it's Coach DeLeon, and then Josh Cochran is his GA, right? Mm-hmm. And Josh Cochran and DeLeon were the hardest working duo in the building. Josh Cochran, I think, slept there most of the time. He never almost ever got a minute to himself. He was always doing stuff for DeLeon, and it wasn't just busy work. It wasn't work Coach wasn't going to do himself. It's because Coach DeLeon was too busy watching film of the next opponent or doing something else, right? It's not because he wasn't working. Mm-hmm. And so he worked Josh to the bone. So then Coach DeLeon and Coach Bell kind of do this partner deal, right? Where Coach DeLeon is not, Coach Bell's the line coach, but Coach DeLeon still is. As soon as we start talking about inside run or we're in a meeting, Coach Bell will ask Coach DeLeon a question, and then Coach DeLeon might take over the meeting talking about inside run or something because he gets so fired up. So there were some kind of bumps there at the beginning, kind of ironing out the rules, the relationship of once we kind of had like a 2 line coaches, but it really came to at the end of by the halfway point of the year, it was smooth. Coach Bell really helped go over scheme and technique, and then Coach DeLeon was always there to help run drills and help really talk about the intricacies about playing offensive line. I mean, that guy has so much knowledge.
How much smarter are you and everyone else because of his role? And even with the old school ways, I mentioned a story earlier. I went to interview him. and he was trying to get the game up on his iPad or whatever it was, and he actually said, I liked it better when we were having to splice game film, yards and yards of game film, because that was what he was used to. It's like some people still read the newspaper, not the internet or a phone or anything else or a laptop. How much smarter, and how much do you think it made Sean even better as a coach because of where he's now one day going to probably be an offensive coordinator?
Right. I think the important thing to keep in mind when you're talking about Coach DeLeon was he has literally done everything before he was an offensive line coach. He was a defensive coordinator. He was a head coach. He's been a position coach at several other positions, and he has a wealth of knowledge as an offensive line coach, right? And the man lived and breathed football. And so his dedication in the film room, but also the techniques and being out on the field, and whoever someone gave him a megaphone one practice, and I think I'd still like to have a word with whoever did that because he was plenty loud without it. But I don't know, man. I think he really helped bring so much knowledge to the game of football, not just specializing in offensive line. Right? He helped us look at the big picture. Before, I just knew what I had to do on every play type, in a type of scenario. After sitting with Coach DeLeon and working with him and Coach Bell and Coach Cochran, it went from knowing your job to knowing my job, knowing everyone else's job, being able to look at one high safety, two high safety, look at these alerts if there's a corner blitz coming, knowing where the quarterback read is going to be. There's just so much more knowledge that went into the game plan. And it didn't immediately show dividends on the field, but it eventually, guys got used to it, guys adapted, the schemes became much more complex, and we were able to, it really is able to help you prepare you for that next level and to do well in the college football ranks.
How many different people were texting back and forth? And, it could have been 2 or it could have been 100. I don't know. How much chatter did you see, you and others, and just those who played or coached with him?
Oh, I mean, it was honestly, it's such a sad event, but it was also pretty great because all of a sudden you're talking to guys that you haven't talked to in maybe a year or two, right? And coaches who aren't even at Baylor anymore, now you're on, it started a whole bunch of group chats, a whole bunch of conversations, a whole bunch of memories and pictures and videos getting shared of, just all the great times we had with Coach DeLeon, because he was there during one of the toughest parts of many of our college careers. He was there at a very tough point in Baylor's history, and the man had showed nothing but class and dedication to his craft, and it was a sad event, but it is a good opportunity for us to all connect and remember the best parts of those days.
Blake, thank you very much, man. Appreciate it. You cracked this up in a way where that's what you do. You celebrate his life, and they'll do that, of course, soon as well with the stories and some of the back stories and background stories and insight. Thanks for your time today.
Of course. You guys have fun.
Yes, sir. That's Blake Blackmar, one hellacious cook. Barbecue.
Follow him on YouTube, Blackmar Barbecue.
Yes, exactly. And what he does and puts up videos of cooking this and that, but also with stories of George DeLeon. Yeah. All right, DJ still not available. We'll just try to see if he's out of a meeting or what he's doing. Daryl Johnston. We're loaded up today. Our show is packed. We have Kevin Sweeney, college basketball writer. I noticed he put a tweet up, I guess it was on Monday night during the game at the end against Texas, talking about his respect for Adam Fiedler. Mack Rhoades today, Baylor women's basketball coach, assistant coach, and Tony Green, who grew up in a family of 10. He also has 5 children, he and his wife, and 4 of them are girls, daughters, and how that's helped him communicate when it comes to coaching women's basketball. That and so much more, plus his thoughts about Nikki Collin and what they've done. The ESPN Plus director-producer, T.L. Fiedler, and also today, John Machota from, of course, discussion about the NFL Combine Paul's Top 5, Sikkim, 365 Radio, and 365 Sports. The City of Woodway can help you host an event that's important to you, whether it's an event for 15 or 20 or even 300 plus. Whether it's a gala, a banquet, a fundraiser, a dinner, a rehearsal dinner, a wedding, some special event, and you need something that kind of gets away peace and quiet. The Carling Bright Arboretum and the Pavilion, City of Woodway, is spectacular. The views are amazing, big, huge windows where you can see. Of course, this time of the year, it's most everything. Not much is blooming, but there's other landscape and colors. And then when you get to the spring and the summer, poof, all the beautiful colors just flourish around the outside of that building. There are trails. There are running trails, walking trails, hiking trails, and 7 hotels in the city of Woodway. But if you're looking for somewhere to host a special event, they'll allow outside caterers, seat up to 360. It's discoverwoodway.com.
This is your 54th District Judge, Susan Kelly. Appointed to the court by Governor Greg Abbott, I've worked hard to manage and move the docket, even during COVID. Board certified in criminal law by the Texas Board of Legal Specialization and past president of the Waco Bar Association, you can be sure I apply the rule of law and deliver justice for all. Early voting starts February 14th, so be my Valentine and vote for justice. Keep Judge Kelly.
Political ad paid for by Susan Kelly from McLennan County Judge Campaign.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% with $5,000 down cash or trade. TTN Electric, see dealer for details.
The New Year, New Ride sales event continues at Richard Carr. Find pre-owned deals like a 2015 GMC Acadia or a 2016 Honda Accord for $227 a month, or get a 2019 Ram Tradesman truck for $333 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. Get top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always the goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco, is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
We have this 3 o'clock hour. We're booked after 4. We're trying to see if we could possibly get Daryl Johnston, who played at Syracuse when George DeLeon was an offensive line coach and offensive coordinator. And right now, he's running or helping run most of the USFL, so that could be what he's doing, and could be something private, and it's up to him. If he's available, we'll try to get him, if we possibly can, on the show. Kevin Sweeney at the top of the hour will join us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Craig, you had a story yesterday in the Off the Radar. If you don't mind, I'm going to bring this up. The Cain Velasquez, did you read the latest on this?
Yeah, I've read a little bit about it, yeah.
Were you going to run it tomorrow?
No, go ahead.
Okay. He actually, the car he shot at, he did hit one of the passengers, but inside the car he shot at was a man who has been arrested and accused of molesting a close relative of his, and had just been released after being arrested. I don't know if there was the lack of bail or whatever it might have been. And it made me think about this. And I'm not going to try to get controversial here. If somebody did something to a member of your family like that, or killed them or whatever, how difficult would it be for you to control yourself?
I mean, I think that's where Cain Velasquez is living right there, but that's what separates us from the person who did it, right? Is you have to let the law work itself out.
Well,
I mean,
we don't know until we're in that position.
Yeah, I know. And look, I read A Time to Kill, just like anybody else did, and it brings up an interesting ethical question, but at the same time, it's one of the things you have to do is you kind of have to trust the system as much as you can. And
vigilante justice sounds great, but if we start adopting that, then this is going to go sideways real quick.
No, it's not that. You're right. It's 100% right. I 100% agree with you.
I understand where you're coming from, but in a free world where there's no repercussions, sure, I'd go put a bullet in that dude's head, but in this world that we actually live in, no, that's not going to do. It'll make me feel better probably for half a second, but cause probably way more issues than was worth it when all's said and done.
He was, of course, arrested for attempted murder. He actually hit the stepfather of the man who's being accused and was arrested for child molestation of a relative.
Which is exactly why it's bad, because there's collateral damage.
Exactly.
All right, but here's a question I have, and I'm not legally smart at all. The man who's accused of molesting a family member was released without bail. He is in... I mean, what you're talking about child molestation.
But you use the word.
I know there's
right
a legal system.
You
I
use
know.
the word accused.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has a right to a trial, and maybe Cain Velasquez doesn't know the whole story, the truth, or whatever's going on. So that person deserves to have their day in court.
I agree.
I
agree.
I mean, it's law and order. It's not. I mean, you want the Wild West, and there's a reason why there are laws. I mean, look, I'd love if I was in his position, I'd probably feel like I would have wanted to have done the same thing, but it's also hard to sit here at this table right now and pretend like I know half of what was going through his brain.
Yeah.
But on the surface, would want to do something to hurt that person, but he hurt another person. Whether that person was involved is beside the point. Or, I mean, I guess, if that person is involved, that's one thing, but it also is not the guy he was apparently going after. So he caused collateral damage because of his emotional decision, and now his whole life might be ruined. And maybe he feels like he got some payback, but I mean, again, it's like a time to kill. It's a tough thing.
Yeah, I just don't. Man.
I mean, I was wondering why he did it, because it made no sense for him to go from nice guy who never seemed to have an issue. I mean, I understand the whole CTE thing that people will automatically point to, and certainly you would point to that immediately, because I mean, what there's no other indication to think that he would go and do something like that. So what could it be? Well, it's one of two things. It's he either lost his mind, whether that be due to CTE or to whatever else it may be. He just snapped. Or there was a reason behind it, and apparently there was a reason behind it. So that's a little reassuring, because that was very beyond Cain Velasquez's character of what I know of it, and makes the whole story make a lot more sense. But still, just a very ugly, sad story.
Yeah, there's no question. There's been a lot of the chat room today. Most of it was about Kansas and TCU, or how the Big 12 sets up, which is what we discussed, the scenarios after the win by TCU last night. And, of course, now they play in Lawrence tomorrow. Kansas plays Texas at home on Saturday. Baylor hosts Iowa State. Texas Tech plays at Oklahoma State. All those games will have something to do whether or not there's a co-championship, an outright championship by as many as two teams. Kansas can do that. Baylor can do that. Texas Tech can still get a share of it based on what happens. If all of them take care of their business, you'll have Baylor and Kansas tied at the top, and Texas Tech would end up a game behind. And that's despite going 3-1 against Baylor, 2-0 against Baylor, and 1-1 against Kansas. All right, let's take a break here. We'll come back. Kevin Sweeney, college basketball writer, and his thoughts about who are the number one seeds, in his opinion, maybe the player of the year, his thoughts about Baylor and Kansas and the Big 12 and TCU's win and Texas Tech and much more. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. IdealMRI.com can do you a couple of things, and both of them are fantastic. One, will save you a ton of money. The average MRI is $1,100, and theirs is never higher than $497, and many times it could be less. $497 or less. And they'll help you with whatever filing you need, paperwork you need to try to also have the insurance take care of part of that. The other part of it is this. They're a beautiful, beautiful business inside the Central Texas marketplace in the southern part of Waco off of I-35 and Highway 6 access road. So here's what they have. A beautiful place with a state-of-the-art technology MRI machine, a great staff of techs and specialists, and then when you get there, you got to get your doctor to set up the MRI, or you yourself contact them. And when you get there, you're not going to be in a room with 30, 40, or 50 other people. It's you and maybe somebody who's already back in the MRI getting treatment, and or perhaps somebody else, but you're not going to have to wait long. And they will also be very flexible with their hours based on your hours. How about that? You can save money. They'll find out what hurts, ligament, muscle, or something else with state-of-the-art technology machine. An MRI machine will find out what is the problem. Tell your doctor about IdealMRI.com.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Fiedler off the window, the tip. Oh, my goodness.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
This 4 o'clock hour will include Baylor's Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades. We will also hear from Baylor women's basketball assistant coach Tony Green. And now we're joined by Kevin Sweeney, writes newsletters, analyst, SINow.com, college basketball central pod, and he joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Kevin, thanks for your time. It popped up. I'd seen you on comments before, but I did see the one comment you made about Baylor's guard. You have it, Armstrong. This is a tweet from, I guess, Monday night. Adam Fiedler is the most underappreciated star in college basketball. That was towards when Baylor was making the run to separate, which they did to beat Texas in Austin. He is a guy that was a very critical part of what they did last year in their championship run, but you do think that he's underappreciated?
Yeah, absolutely. I just think, there's so little room in the national discourse for guys that just star in their role. And I just think a guy like Fiedler, who makes shots at a really high level, who's incredibly reliable, who's efficient, who's really good defensively, who leads his team. I just think those guys always deserve more love. And I think Fiedler kind of fits that whole mold to the team. And he's been tremendous for this team. They would certainly not be where they are right now without him. And it feels like he's really raising his game right now when they need him most to make a push for a 1 seed.
Kevin, what are your thoughts on this last week in the Big 12 with Baylor kind of reasserting themselves as the defending champs and in Kansas with 2 losses all of a sudden?
Yeah, I was a little surprised that Kansas lost, coming off of a loss against Baylor to lose again against TCU. I think TCU's a better team than people give them credit for. I think they're really athletic, they're physical as heck. But I was a little surprised by that. I think it's the mark of a great coach in Scott Drew that they've been able to kind of right the ship after, some of those struggles, especially with all the injuries they've dealt with. And, I think they're in great position. I still think both of those teams are really good. I think Texas Tech is an outstanding basketball team. I believe Texas Tech can win a national championship. But I wasn't surprised necessarily by Baylor's surge as much as I was by Kansas losing to TCU.
Kevin, what do you think as far as the 1 seeds go right now?
So I have Baylor as the second overall seed in the field, thanks to the 12 quadrant 1 wins. I just felt like they deserved it over Arizona after the loss to Colorado. Obviously, that could shift, but I think Baylor's in tremendous shape. I think if they beat Iowa State this weekend, I'd be pretty surprised if Baylor doesn't wind up on the number 1 line, regardless of what happens in the Big 12 tournament.
Yeah, that's always nice to have, but that you can not even have to worry about it. It'd be good if you won And would you think that helps them as well, Kevin, because they're playing such a – and everyone shrinks their lineup and rotation when the tournament starts, but they, as you know, they're putting up huge minutes among just one or two guys off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can help you to a certain degree to have that, have the rotation already figured out. It also can kind of hurt you in March. Obviously, you want to have the depth, but I think the fact that they're not going to have to run their guys into the ground during the Big 12 tournament trying to push for a 1 seed will certainly help them as they get into March Madness, especially given how kind of snake-bitten with injuries there. Every minute's a risk. So, I think that helps them. I do think there's a lot to play for. You want to be that number 2 overall seed, so you get to play in San Antonio over Arizona, who would also want that San Antonio spot over going to Chicago or going to Philly. So, there is something to play for there, but feeling good about your 1 seed heading into the Big 12 tournament would be a pretty nice prize for Scott Drew and company.
So you don't think that so if they go to the tournament as a 1 seed, you don't think the tournament would affect which 1 seed they are?
I think it could. Obviously, I think there's an outside shot they could get the number 1 overall seed if they were to win the Big 12 tournament. I don't think that would happen, but I wouldn't rule it out. Obviously, I think as long as they don't lose in the first game of the Big 12 tournament, I think they have a very good chance to wind up as the number 2. I think someone else would have to make something special happen, and I'm not sure Arizona, who's the top contender otherwise for that number 2 overall seed, is going to have the games to play. I mean, with the exception of UCLA, there aren't the needle-moving wins out there in the Pac-12 as there are in the Big 12.
Kevin, who else do you like as the ones right now, and what kind of battles are you looking at as far as these final week and, where – like a team like Kansas right now is kind of up in the air, but what, obviously Baylor you think's a 1. You just kind of touched on that there, but how do you see this battle for the 1s and 2s down this final week?
Yeah, so I have Gonzaga as number 1 overall and Baylor as number 2. Right now I have Arizona as the 3rd number 1 seed. They're not a lock to be on the 1 line if they were to lose again in the Pac-12 tournament. I have the 4th 1 seed right now as Auburn and the 5th overall seed, the top 2 being Kansas. Now that could change. Again, I think, as it comes down the stretch here, Auburn has a relatively easy schedule this weekend. They play Mississippi State tonight, and then they play South Carolina, to play NIT caliber teams. They should win those games. They win those games, they'll be in good position in the SEC tournament. I think Kentucky, if they were to win the SEC tournament, would have a great case for a number 1 seed. Duke, if they win out, will be in that conversation. I don't love their resume quite as much, but if they keep winning, it's going to be hard to keep 30-4 Duke off the number 1 line. So that's certainly worth watching as well. I think that's the battle right now. I think Arizona's pretty good. It's that 4th spot that really we're watching.
We don't seem to have that just collision course this year, do we, between Gonzaga and Baylor, and especially when that non-conference game was canceled. There doesn't seem to be this the immovable force against the irresistible force, immovable object against the irresistible force.
No, I think there's a little bit more parity this year. I think it was pretty obvious, last year, and maybe some people kind of forgot that when Baylor had the COVID pause and they didn't look themselves for this first couple of games like how good Baylor was. But I think it was obvious if you were truly locked into the sport that those were the 2 teams, really from the start. I certainly don't think we have that this year. I think we have. I felt like we had 7 or 8 teams that you felt good about, heading into this past weekend, and maybe that weekend opens up the field even more. And a team like Arkansas is playing really, really good basketball. A team like Illinois is really explosive. Wisconsin's playing great. I was up in Madison last night to watch them against Purdue. That was a tremendous game, right? So I think you start to open the field a little bit. Villanova's playing great. So it feels very wide open. I think Gonzaga's probably the best team. The analytics, flex that out as well, but you can make a case for several teams as the favorite to win, and I wouldn't argue with you.
Kevin, what am I supposed to think of Duke? I mean, they've got a great record, but the ACC is as bad as it's ever been this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think the talent level jumps off the page. I mean, when you watch them, they have 4 and potentially 5 guys who will be first-round picks this year, which is not everything, but it certainly matters. And, I think, when you have Ben Caro as the focal point, but also Griffin shooting the ball, Williams up front, who's so physical and kind of took the game away from Drew Timme when Gonzaga played Duke in November. I think there's a lot of attractive parts with this team. I think the thing that's frustrating with them is, they haven't shown me the kind of killer instinct I want with a team in March. I mean, they played a lot of games in the ACC that have been closer than they should have been against mediocre competition and NIT caliber clubs. So I think that's been frustrating. It's something to watch as they get into March. Can they put on consistent performance? But I think Duke at its best, the Duke we saw play Gonzaga in Vegas, the Duke we saw, dismantle North Carolina in the Dean Dome in early February, that Duke team can absolutely win a national championship. It might be the favorite.
So, Kevin, last night, I know that you mentioned that you were at the Wisconsin-Purdue game, and I was seeing little updates here and there, and all of a sudden my timeline's just Jaden Ivey, and then a few moments later, it's Wisconsin Badgers, Chucky Hepburn, all this. What was that scene like in Madison?
It was crazy, and the fans were as into it as any fan base I've seen all year. I've been to a lot of great games. That one was right up there. I thought Ivey didn't really play his best basketball for 32, 33 minutes. And then, the final 7, he was just on a tear. He scored 3 straight buckets in isolation that should have won them the game. I mean, quite frankly, Purdue deserved to win that game with how they played down the stretch. But Wisconsin got a banked-in bucket from Johnny Davis and a banked-in 3 from Chucky Hepburn to win the game. And it was a good reminder of how much better Wisconsin's role players have been than I think people give credit for. Tyler Wall and Chucky Hepburn made 2 huge shots for them down the stretch, and those guys are a huge reason Wisconsin's the Big Ten champs. It was a absolutely fantastic basketball game, and this Wisconsin team just continues to find ways, even considering that people kind of question their talent level.
It's been a crazy few days, but and we are now in March, so we're allowed to have some more crazy after the weekend of 7 teams on Saturday. And Kevin, great stuff. Love the work. Appreciate your time, and also you noticing what Adam Flagler does for this team and how critical he was against Oklahoma State, and then also, of course, down the stretch against Texas. Thanks for your time. That's Kevin Sweeney, SINow.com, covers the national landscape of college basketball, including, of course, the madness last night, Purdue-Wisconsin, another game that caught, as you were talking about, Craig. And, boy, I tell you what, Ivey is fantastic. I was watching him in the game they had, I guess it was during the weekend. I forgot who it was against. Was it Michigan State or whoever it might have been? I'm going blank on the opponent. Man, is he fun to watch. They've got the big, tall drink of water inside, but I enjoy watching him as well. We are now joined by, you remember him, Daryl Johnston, as the great with the Dallas Cowboys, also now a part of the USFL, and, of course, the executive vice president of football operations. But, Daryl, thanks for your time, and I know you got a cram schedule. We saw the note yesterday evening, the loss of George DeLeon. You knew him well. You played under him at Syracuse. Your thoughts about Coach DeLeon, the impact he may have had on you?
Oh, my gosh. One of the guys that is the reason why I was drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. Without a doubt, at Syracuse University, there was 3 people. My strength coach, Mike Wojcik, my running backs coach, Jim Hoffer, and George DeLeon, our offensive coordinator. And him and Jim together were, gosh, they were phenomenal. And, George was great for that group of men at that age and that stage of their life. He had a few opportunities in the NFL, but he didn't reach the levels that I think he reached in the collegiate game, because I think there was a better connection there with the guys. He was really creative in what he did. I can remember him going out to clinics in Nebraska and Oklahoma and trying to teach them, how we were running straight line freeze option paired with power game and quick passing game. It's just amazing. He was so far ahead of his time. And I'll tell people, I said, listen, our college offense was one of the best offenses, I've ever been a part of. We could walk to the line and you just couldn't be right as a defense. Like I said, we can run straight line freeze option, to the field. We can run power to the sideline. And if you load the box, we've got a quick game. You just couldn't be right. It was unbelievable. And then, we built a certain part of our game plan around formation to sideline, with the college game and the hashes being out so far, it was a short distance into the sideline, but we'd put the tight end into the sideline all the time and see what the defense's response was going to be. And we ran our plays off of what they set up and knowing that they couldn't be right. So he was really good from a formational standpoint of making the defense declare and taking advantage of your weakness at that point.
How was he as we've heard from Blake Blackmar, who played here at Baylor under him, in the fact that he was just always watching film, but as a tactician of the technique of blocking, because Moose, you were a fantastic blocker, even as someone who, came in the league as a running back, which is something usually you have to learn when you get to the NFL.
Yeah, it was part of the offense there. What we ran was, the option element on the straight line. I was an option to carry the football. But once we got beyond that, we were running a lot of lead option, which is, me cutting the end of line, and then us actually going downfield and optioning beyond the end of line, actually optioning, the safety that would fill, optioning the corner that would come and support. Just some really creative things. So it put a lot of pressure on the fullback position to be able to get the quarterback in the pitch bend, beyond the end of line and then into the secondary for that next read. I remember the offensive linemen, we've got a text chain with about 20 Syracuse guys on it. And we were all sharing stories yesterday and several of the offensive linemen there, just phenomenal stories about, how demanding he was, from a technique standpoint, how demanding he was in the film room, identifying coverages because of the way that safeties move down, back and forth, yo-yoing with run support. So, our offensive linemen were incredibly smart at being able to understand by shade and alignment of the front what the coverage was behind that, what the secondary was doing behind that, because there's a lot of times where our big guys were actually coming out and we were getting them on, secondary support. So they had to know where is that support coming from? Is it coming from the corner, off the boundary? Is it going to be a safety dropping down to fill that lane? From a detail-oriented coach, just absolutely incredible.
Daryl, and just to search around a little bit here, would that 1987 game against Rutgers be, was that the 21-0 you guys were down? Did George DeLeon played a role in that? Am I getting that wrong?
That was, it would have been Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech, okay, sorry.
Yeah, and it was 87. We might have been looking ahead to Penn State the following week, but we came out and played a horrible first half. Especially special teams wise. I think, several of the two of the touchdowns that Virginia Tech scored were the results of, some poor special teams play, but it didn't matter. We just didn't function well as a team that day. And, we're waiting at halftime to just get chewed out, by George. And he just walks in and the blackboard is there and he writes the word character on the blackboard and underlines it and turns and looks at us and goes, well, we're going to find out if this team has any of this afternoon, and just walks away. And he let the leadership of the offense kind of work through what happened in the first half and what we needed to do in the second half. And it was, sometimes a great halftime speech is no speech at all. And that was one of those moments where that's exactly what we needed. You guys are better than this and you're not performing. What's wrong? So we're going to see if you've got any character. And we went out at 21-7, down 21-7 at half, and won 35-21. I think Virginia Tech's offense had -4 yards in the second half. Obviously we scored 28 points, just a complete reversal. And I'll never forget that moment, sitting in that locker room. He knew exactly what our team needed to hear and that we needed to fix it from the inside. There was nothing that a coach was going to do in that situation to help us get it turned around. It had to come from within, and he knew that.
You mentioned the board, what he said at halftime. Blake Blackmar, who Paul alluded to, who was on with us earlier in the last hour, mentioned one day he was trying to draw some plays up on a whiteboard, and he had cut his arm, and he didn't know it. And so he's writing all this stuff feverishly because he's not paying attention. Then he all of a sudden looks at the board and he's mad at the players because he thought somebody had maybe squirted ketchup on his desk. And he was just so clueless that he didn't. And then, of course, his flip phone. And what he didn't know about FaceTime, you couldn't put a FaceTime phone call against your ear because someone would only see your ear. And those are his
later years, to be fair. Yeah.
Those are yes. If you're going to ask me, could you see George DeLeon doing that? Absolutely. That is George DeLeon. Yes, all football, all the time. Except we used to laugh because there was this guy that we knew in the meeting room on the football field, but when his wife and his family showed up after practice, there was this other guy that was like, okay, who is that guy? As a dad, just unbelievable. And the great thing is, this past year, I did several Detroit games, and his son Mark is the linebacker coach with the Lions. So we got to visit with him, and he was keeping me updated on George's condition and let me know that things weren't going great. And then late in the year, he reached out and said, "Hey, one of my good friends lived down where George was in hospice, and he went over and had dinner with him one night. And Mark called me. He said, "Oh my God, it's the best I've seen my dad in weeks." Just the old stories and connecting everything. It's lifted his spirits. He goes, "Do you think you could get the guys together to just send a video hello?" And, we've got that text chain of 20 guys, from 87. And it was literally one thing. Hey, Mark reached out and wants everybody to send a video for George. He's not doing well. And John was there over the weekend, and it really lifted his spirits. And he said, literally, he goes, within 2 hours, he goes, it wasn't just your 20 guys. It like mushroomed out. He goes, I had so many videos. He goes, I walked into our video department with the Lions and handed the guy my phone and all the videos that came in. And he goes, "These just came in today?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Can you believe that?" So, I mean, Mark was blown away by the connection still to this day that his dad has with his former players.
By the way, Rex Baxter wanted me to say hi. He texted me, and he's the one that connected the dots with me to Daryl Johnston, Syracuse, and George DeLeon. He was a friend of Cooper Gardner, and he said he's bumped into you a couple of different times, said you've always been incredible, classy. When he mentioned the name, and you gave him 5 minutes to talk about some of those great stories as well. DJ,
yeah.
I know that USFL, we've had a lot of guys who are going to be drafted or have been drafted from around here, from Baylor, around the state of Texas. We'll have you on again maybe later on to discuss all that, because I know that clock is ticking. Congratulations on getting this thing off the ground, and also the great memories about Coach.
Yeah, thanks for letting me come on and talk, and thanks for sharing some of the ones that you have, because that's classic George with not realizing he's cut.
Daryl Johnston, the great Daryl Johnston, the Cowboys, and also Syracuse University on George DeLeon. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Real quickly, we'll be back in a moment. Mack Rhoades joins us, Baylor's Director of Athletics.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot of great deals at Richard Carr, got great customer service over at Richard Carr as well, and right now they want you to get on over to the dealership because they want you to get your vehicle as soon as possible. They realize that there's been these supply chain issues, and quite frankly, who knows when the end of that is going to be, especially as the world just keeps being on as topsy-turvy as ever, but that has not stopped them from getting in new cars and trucks on almost a daily and if not a weekly basis. At Richard Carr right now, they have not only great deals on brand new cars and trucks, but also premium pre-owned cars and trucks as well. And what you need to do if you want to get into a vehicle as soon as possible is get your name on their inbound vehicle list. By getting your name on their inbound vehicle list, you can get your new car or truck as soon as they arrive, and right now 0% financing for 72 months for qualified buyers. They've got, in terms of trucks, the GMC Sierra, available 177 horsepower engine, a great amount of cargo bed volume, head and leg room in the interior. Plus, the interior is luxurious, and it's a ride that compares to being in a luxury sedan. Sierras are in stock with more on the way. Plus, right now, again, 0% for 72 months for qualified buyers. They also have 11 different SUV models to choose from with dozens of trim options. They've got the Buick Encores. They've got the Cadillac Escalades, and much more as well. Richard Carr has the SUV you need, starting at $24,000. So Richard Carr is loaded with not only with brand new cars that are arriving almost on a daily, weekly basis, of which you can get into quicker with the you're getting your name on the inbound vehicle list, but also the premium pre-owns. All of them have gone through a 172-point inspection before hitting the lot, and they have 10 lenders who will do what it takes to get you in a car today. Trust the good local people you can count on for over 20 years in Central Texas. Proud Wacoans, proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now. Go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
This is your 54th District Judge, Susan Kelly. Appointed to the court by Governor Greg Abbott, I've worked hard to manage and move the docket, even during COVID. Board certified in criminal law by the Texas Board of Legal Specialization and past president of the Waco Bar Association, you can be sure I apply the rule of law and deliver justice for all. Early voting starts February 14th, so be my Valentine and vote for justice. Keep Judge Kelly.
Political ad paid for by Susan Kelly from McLennan County Judge Campaign.
Truck Month started early at Allen Samuels. You could get a 2022 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star with total values up to $7,500 or as little as 0% for 72 months. This month, first responders get an extra $500. Come see why Ram continues to win awards year after year. Take home power, performance, and reliability, and shop the huge new car and truck inventory in stock today at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brad, what makes you different than anyone else, in your opinion, as far as what Boozer's does?
The fact that I own the jewelry store, anything I need to do, will do, or can do, I can do it. The buck stops with me, whereas a lot of places you have to go up the corporate command and corporate channel. Well, if you come in and want to make a deal, we sit there and we make the deal.
And you can find whatever someone's looking for, correct?
Anything is obtainable. I don't care what brand it is, what size it is, how much it costs, large or small. Anything is obtainable, and we can definitely get that in for you to see, look at, or buy.
Do you have the opportunity, if people have to pay things off, as far as a layaway program? What about what you have with financing?
Absolutely. We have 12-month no-interest financing. We have layaway. If you want to pay with Bitcoin, I can take Bitcoin now. So if there's any way you want to pay for it, we can find a way out to make it work.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhoades is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
We will hear from Baylor women's assistant coach Tony Green in our next segment. And then T.L. Fiedler, who's been in town, the ESPN Plus, the director-producer of Our Time, join us today a little after 5 o'clock. We're now joined by Baylor's Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades, on Sikkim 365 Radio. I want to start with the news from yesterday evening about George DeLeon passing away. We've had Daryl Johnston, who played for him at Syracuse, and Blake Blackmar, and the stories have been just unbelievable. What are your memories, or a memory or two, on Coach DeLeon, Mac?
And he trying to figure out if he was a better offensive line coach or a better person. He was great at both. He was here 3 years, and he impacted a lot of lives, and I know he certainly impacted the student athletes that he coached, but his impact went beyond our student athletes, and it even went beyond the football staff. It went into our administration, and it was a sad day yesterday for us, and there's not a person here that didn't interact with Coach DeLeon that didn't just love him. Unbelievable person, great Christian man, just a man of really, really deep faith. Made me think, today, because Lent starts today, and being Catholic, and those conversations that we would have, and he's going to be missed. And I said this in a text message to somebody: if there's an offensive line up in heaven, he's coaching it, and he's just the best, and will really, really, really be missed. And I'm grateful to Matt in the way that as he was battling his illness, and that certainly was time here. Just the way that he was kept engaged and part of the program, and I had a chance to exchange text messages with Sean Bell, and I think Sean will tell you what an unbelievable impact he had on him as he was coaching the O-line, and Coach DeLeon was right there with him every step of the way. So I apologize for the long answer, and part of it is because I'm trying to not get emotional, but I love that man, and praying for Barbara, and unbelievable human being.
Mack, to have somebody with that kind of experience coming in at the time where the beginning was very chaotic, how important was that?
Oh, it was extremely important. He'd been through so many different things, including serving as an offensive coordinator at a previous stop, and he was a person that had such great wisdom, but yet so humble and easy to talk to. And when you talk to him, it wasn't just about football. We talked about food in New Haven, Connecticut. We talked about all kinds of stuff. And man, I think he was really great from that. As we think back, first year really a hard year, and in terms of everything, including the win and loss column. But he was a rock. He was a foundation, and just a person that you could go and extract great wisdom from.
No doubt. I think all of the people all across the country, we said Daryl Moose Johnston on talking about, playing for Coach DeLeon and just all the programs he was with. He obviously impacted a great deal, number of lives. And yeah, a lot of people missing him today. Mack, on the more positive side of things, obviously a massive weekend for you guys, especially in basketball. I guess starting off with the men, last night Kansas loses, and that opens the door to potentially get at least a piece, if not all, of the Big 12 regular season title. And to get to this point, they didn't only need Kansas to lose, but, Baylor had to go out and win some games. And yet game day on Saturday, the win against Kansas, the win against Oklahoma State prior to that, turn around Texas on Monday. Can you just kind of wrap your head around men's basketball over these last few days?
Yeah, Craig, I'm not really sure that I can, to be honest. We were, the executive team, we were on a 2-day retreat Monday and Tuesday, and it was a topic of conversation, and just how blessed we are, and something, I hope none of us ever take for granted. To win Saturday against a really talented Kansas team, and look, it's been well chronicled, the injuries, and the way we started that game, and just to fight through it and persevere, and get out of there with a victory, and then again turn around with a really short bench. We got young men playing high minutes and having to turn around and go into a hostile environment down south and find a way to win that one. Both of those games could have very easily gone either way, and and now we put ourselves in a position, on Saturday against a really good Iowa State team, and we'll have to be at our very best again. But the opportunity to go win at minimum a share of the Big 12 title, and David K was telling me today that that'd be the first time other than Kansas since Iowa State did it in 2001. So just really, really proud of him. Scott Scott should be receiving again National Coach of the Year recognition. Again, just the way we battled through the adversity, and he's blessed with such a great staff, and our kids, man, they just compete. So proud of men's basketball, and let's do our best to finish it out strong on Saturday and send off our seniors with their last regular season win.
Have you ever gotten in your career to be part of closing out a rival's stadium and winning on the road?
No, I hadn't, and I'm not going to lie to you, it kind of felt good. But again, that's a great rivalry. It's a great game. It's a great game for our fans. And their fans, and that's part of the sadness over conference realignment, because that game means a lot to them, and they may act and say it doesn't, but it does. You can see it in the stands, and it obviously means a lot to us. So, but I know you're going to ask me about women's basketball, but man, what they did over that 3-day stretch, beating a really good Kansas team at home, and then I'll be frank, to have to get on the road and travel on a 1-day rest and go into an environment, a hostile environment, 10,000 plus. Iowa State had played short turnaround for them, but they had played at home. And I thought, I felt good that we had an opportunity and a chance to win, and thought we would win. But the way we played there, it was awesome just to watch, how we competed and really, really just took over that game.
Mac, before we do move on to the women, I just wanted to get your thoughts on game day, student turnout, the lock-in the night before. I mean, I know a lot went into making sure that was a packed place, and a lot of other events were going on as well, but how do you feel it came across on camera, and how did you feel about the support that showed up on Saturday?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, Craig, just kudos to our staff. Our staff is unbelievable, and our event management, facility staff, our fan engagement, marketing, promotion, just all of them across the board did such an unbelievable job. And I think what I'm most proud of is the comments that I received from all of the ESPN people, and they literally loved coming to Baylor because of the way they're treated, and the extra step, the extra mile, the extra gesture that's provided them by our staff. But what a great opportunity. I thought I had one of the athletic directors at here within the Big 12 texted me and said, "What an unbelievable infomercial for Baylor." And our students were electric. I thought they were great for both games, both the women and men on Saturday, and showed up, and just the energy and the whiteout and all of it, I thought was exceptional. Maybe the loudest I've ever heard the Farrell Center against the men's game against KU. There were a couple times there where I was like, "Wow, I'm not sure that I've ever heard this place louder." And you know, that's such a great energy provider for our team. So really, I thought just a signature day for both basketball programs and our institution.
Yeah, and with what Nikki and the team have done, Tony Green's going to join us here in the next segment. TL from ESPN Plus is here. She's going to join us at 5 o'clock as well. It's just almost been magical. And I know the thing is that you guys are kind of used to this, but that was a different type story, the way they did what they did.
Yeah, no, and you know, to start conference play 0-2, and then, you know, again, at least win a share of the league, and you know, let's do the same thing. Let's go out Sunday against Texas Tech, 2 p.m. I hope it's just a packed crowd, and you know, the opportunity to win it outright. But you know, as you three know the story, and just, you know, it's hard, as I mentioned, you know, last show, to follow a legend, and then trying to keep the roster in place, trying to add some pieces, and then, you know, try to build culture and hire staff, and to play like we're playing right now, and again, you know, to at least claim a share of the regular season Big 12 title is just a great job by Nikki, and I hope people know that and recognize that, because it's been hard, and she's just, you know, we're blessed with great coaches. She's not only a great coach, but she's a great person and has been an unbelievable team player. And you know, you can see it. Our kids have bought in, and they'll run through a brick wall for her, and that's how they're playing. So I'm excited for them, and excited to see them compete on Sunday.
You guys got a win last week in football, and it wasn't on the field, but in a way it was. Eric Mateos decided to remain at Baylor University, and somebody that was a part of some of the changes with contracts and others during the end of the year and off season. You and I and Paul and Craig discussed, of course, Dave Aranda's deal quite a bit, but he took care of his staff, and so did you. How big a win was keeping Eric Mateos at Baylor when a big boy, the national champion Georgia, was knocking on his door?
Yeah, I think anytime you retain quality people, it's a win. And I know, you know, Coach Aranda believes this. I know Jeff Grimes believes this, that Coach Mateos is one of the best, if not the best offensive line coaches in the country. And so not surprising that somebody like a Georgia would have interest. But I also think it speaks to who we are and what we're building. And, you know, I think I've said this before. Why can't this place be a destination place for people? And I think that's what we're trying to build. And you know, I'm not going to say that we're there yet, but I think we're headed in that direction. We're going to continue to work and strive and build the brand as such that, hey, when we think about the top 5 places to work in the country, this is one of them, and this can be a destination place. And I think the other thing is, you know, we didn't have one assistant coach, 1 through 10 on-field coach that another school somewhere, at least one other school somewhere, didn't come and try to hire them and convince them to go somewhere else. And so again, a credit to Coach Aranda in terms of the staff that he put together, and then I think credit to our institution and to our athletics program in terms of our commitment to try to retain quality people. And and again, this place this place I think is becoming and should be a destination place for great people.
And in this day and age where money and salaries and everything are skyrocketing, it's part of the business, but it's also nice, is it not, Mack, to finish it up with this, to have people that it's not all about the money as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you saying that. And, again, we've never made our budget public, but it's not what, some other institutions are that we compete with toe to toe. And, we're not winning right now at a high level because we're paying the most. But we're winning at a high level because we've got great people and they know that they're cared for and appreciated. And maybe we can't pay them the most all the time, but it's much deeper than just, what they receive, monthly income. It's about the culture and the relationships, and more importantly, it's about the purpose and preparing champions for life and really this dedication to impacting young people. So it's cool to see, and I'm blessed to just be a really small part of it.
Mack, thank you for your time. We'll get into some more other details with college football, Big 12, and whatever else next week. And good luck the rest of the week with what the men have, the women have, and obviously with all the other things going on. We appreciate your time.
Appreciate you guys. Take care.
Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor University, with us on Sick on 365 Radio. Normally Tuesdays, but because of that retweet, look, that's part of the life now, retreat. He joined us, in fact, today. Tony Green, Baylor assistant coach for the women's basketball team, will join us. TL is in studio. She's been here before filming us with her crew. She's the one now. We will discuss things with her about what's happening with our time and ESPN Plus and what a run it's been. Sick'em 365 Radio and 365 Sports. PettyClinicLowT.com can help you become the high-performance man that you might have been at some point in your life. As you grow older, testosterone levels can change in your body. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues with low testosterone. It could be your energy. It could be sleep habits. It could be your sex drive. Dr. Kent Petty can help you out, but you have to contact him. Go to PettyClinicLowT.com, top left-hand corner. Click on the email and or phone number. Tell him Smokey sent you, and he'll get you lined up to get your blood work, look at your lab results, and if your testosterone levels are too low, he will give you the option to be put in the program to help you increase your testosterone levels so you can become the high-performance man you want to be, need to be, and used to be at PettyClinicLowT.com.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at marcos.com to make any moment better. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Payments for qualified buyers are 2.9% with $5,000 down cash or trade. TT and Electra, see dealer for details.
The New Year, New Ride sales event continues at Richard Carr. Find pre-owned deals like a 2015 GMC Acadia or a 2016 Honda Accord for $227 a month, or get a 2019 Ram Tradesman truck for $333 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. Get top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always the goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
We're now joined by Baylor assistant coach Tony Green, Baylor women's basketball. Another piece, at least, of the Big 12 championship for a 12th consecutive year, and it has not been easy. Can you try to explain what you have seen this program, these players, the staff, and everyone involved get to the point where they have claimed part of the Big 12 title?
David, it's been a true test of character, this run that these young ladies have made. I think Nikki Collins has done an excellent job of keeping the entire program just focusing on getting better day by day, practice by practice. We took some lumps. We started out 0-2, but one thing I can tell you about our young ladies, they are dedicated to Baylor. They're dedicated to Nikki Collins, and they never flinched. They, as a staff, we met, and there are some things that we wanted to do that we felt like could improve, our ability to win games, or close games, I should say. We had some adversity with COVID as well, but I just think it just shows the true character of our head coach, Nikki, and the resiliency of our young ladies and their commitment to winning for their fine university.
Everyone that came to this program knew what the standard was. You knew that it was going to be a huge spotlight. Was it ever at any time at 0-2 or at the end of the game at Kansas when you find a way to win, was that ever thought of as a burden?
Of course. I mean, you can look at it as a burden, but when you're a true competitor, you look at it as an opportunity. It could be a burden. It could be a little stressful at times, but frustrating. But that's just part of life. But when Nikki called me about the job, we never looked at it as like a real burden. We just looked at it as an opportunity to come and continue to do something, to be a part of something great at Baylor. And, of course, we knew the challenge. We knew that, following last year's staff and the success, nothing but a championship would be considered success here, especially in our first year. So we looked at the opportunity, and I believe our whole staff embraced it, and we just tried to work our butts off and make sure that we got the job done.
What were those conversations like when you were on the phone with Nikki and she was interviewing you?
First time we talked for 4 hours.
Wow.
Yes, we talked for 4 hours. And get this, David, we never talked about basketball. Mm-hmm. The first time we talked. The only conversation we talked about that had that basketball was mentioned, we were just talking about the Black Lives Matter movement that was in Atlanta and what she, some things that she faced and stuff like that. I asked her, and she told me, but that was the only basketball conversation we had. She made it clear to me that she was looking for people that she would enjoy to work with, and that was going to put the players first, because those were the two most important things to her. And we talked about our families. We spent a lot of time talking about our families. I learned a lot about her family. I let her know things that was important to me, and when it came to my family and things that my kids were doing and my wife was doing, and the type of staff I would like to work with, and we talked a lot about life, things that was going on in the world. So, but that's what we talked about. The second time we talked for 3 hours, and we talked a little bit more about basketball. Never really talked about what my role was going to be here or anything like that. But we talked about Baylor and the opportunity and how tough it was going to be, following up the past, the staff before us, and the success that was already expected here at Baylor. We talked about that. And she said, listen, 90% of the people in this world, 99% of the people in this world will always say, don't follow a Hall of Famer. Be the coach that follows the person that follows the Hall of Famer. And she said, Tony, I'm just different. I'm not wired that way. I told her, I'm not either. An opportunity is an opportunity. And so we knew that we were just going to focus on being the best version of ourselves. She made it perfectly clear that she just wanted to be the best version of herself and implement the game plan in place that she had, her vision for Baylor. And you know what, David? She really stuck to the game plan the entire time and never flinched. She even told the girls, even when we wasn't doing well, she told the girls, when we were 0-2, she said, listen, we're okay. She said, people are going to say what they're going to say. They're going to be doubters. She said, but listen, I'm going to take the first. I'm going to be the person walking through the door first. I'm going to take the first bullet. And, and I thought she did a great job of doing that and letting the girls know that she was fearless. And we just stayed focused on our job. When we were 0-2, she made the girls write up on the board their goals that they wanted out of this year. And probably 99% of our girls, I believe, they wanted to win a championship. We were 0-2, and she said, you know what, we could still do that. And you know what, we did. We put ourselves in a position to where we could share it, and hopefully after Sunday we can put ourselves in a position where we own it by ourselves.
You know, you've been everywhere. You've been at the highest levels of Division I. Now you're at a place that's won 3 national titles, and you just, again, the piece of the championship, and you want more. One of the elite women's basketball programs, Ole Miss. And then you've also been Toledo. You've been at HBCUs as well, Grambling. I believe, Texas Southern as well. How much are you a grinder? Are you just somebody that just grinds every day?
I'm a server. I believe in serving people. And when it comes to doing my job, whatever staff I work on, I focus on 2 things, David. I focus on the responsibility that my head coach has given me. And I focus on how can I make the staff better outside of just my responsibility, if that makes sense. Like, what else can I do to make us whole, to make us function better? And all my life, I've just been fortunate I just stuck to those 2 things, and I've been blessed to move up to this level. Like, I've never, in 28 years of coaching, I went to one, probably 3 years ago. Out of 3 years ago, I went to my first seminar to you want to be a head coach, or I've been to that. I've been to one of those. All the other times, I never went to those seminars on how to move up or how to network and how to be a better assistant coach and you want to be a head coach. I never went to those seminars. I just focused on doing my job, and my phone would ring. Like, I didn't know Nikki. My phone rung. She called me. I didn't know Coach Yo at Ole Miss. She called me. I didn't know Megan Duffy at Marquette. I was just fortunate enough that people that have rubbed elbows with me or worked with me or saw me from afar recommended me, and I'm so blessed to where that I have that for those people who have mentioned my name to where I'm able to be at this level and be at Baylor University.
You have 5 children. You and your wife have 5 children, 4 girls, and, of course, a son. How much does raising girls help you communicate with the girls inside the Baylor athletic program as far as in basketball?
It's a huge advantage. I'm telling you, it's a huge advantage. I just learning how different my daughters are. They are so different. Their personalities are different. How to motivate them are different. How to teach them, they learn differently. Like, they are so different, and it helps me. They have helped me through my career to learn how to notice and look for certain things. Sometimes, you could look for certain things or see certain ways you can motivate or encourage a young lady, because my daughters are different, and I have to be different, for them. So they have really, really prepared me and made me better as a coach, to handle young women.
How good is Nalissa Smith?
She's the best I've ever seen in person when it comes to a female basketball player. And I've been doing this a long time. David, she does some stuff like I've never seen done before. And what I mean by good, I'm not talking about just scoring the basketball, but her ability to rebound the basketball out of her area is amazing. She's one of the best rebounders I've ever seen out of her area. Like, she goes up, she can jump from one block to the other block and grab a rebound. And that's, and not a lot of female athletes can do that. But her ability, I think Nikki has really given her an opportunity to showcase her skill set as well, to where she's just not a low block player or paint scoring forward. She can score on the perimeter. She can face up. She's pretty good in transition too. She's a good finisher in transition. So I think she deserves to be the number 1 draft pick in this year's draft.
Is she better at basketball than you are at remembering names?
She's way better at basketball than I am at remembering names. I'm going to tell you, David, I'm going to tell you why I struggle remembering names, okay? I have 8 brothers, 1 sister, a host of uncles, a host of nieces and nephews. My mind it has so many names in it. I can't even, I can't keep track. So I have a huge family. So it's hard for me to log friends and staff members and practice guys' names all in my head.
Your specialty is coaching defense. I love that. With what Dave Aranda's done in football, what Scott Drew's done with his team, and how good they are defensively. Where did your background learning and coaching defense come from?
Actually, I was mentored by, early in my career, when I was young, I think I was 24, 25 when I first started coaching. I was actually mentored by football coaches and at Langston University. Coach John Montgomery, Marty Stewart, and both of them, Marty was the defensive coordinator, John Montgomery was the offensive coordinator. And John ended up leaving and getting a job, but I started really studying up under Marty, how he prepared and stuff like that and different things you can do. And so I just fell in love with the defensive side of the ball because I was mentored, from a majority of the time from defensive coordinator. But then once I got to when I worked for Cynthia Cooper, she allowed me the ability to be her defensive guy. And then it just took off from there. We won a championship our first year, and then I left there and went to University of Toledo, and Tricia Cullop hired me to be her defensive coordinator, and we won a championship. And when I got to Ole Miss, I didn't coach. I was just a post coach at Ole Miss. But once I got to Marquette, Megan Duffy wanted me to be on the defensive side as well. So it just sort of fell in my lap. Something that I embraced. My head coach has enough confidence to put me in that position to where I could really zone in on one side of the ball. And I think that, once the responsibility was given to me, I just really dove into it. And I started picking brains of other coaches that I admired. I've been to men Final Fours. Every program I ever been to, I always had a relationship with the men coaches. Even here, I talk to Coach Tang all the time, getting suggestions, just picking their brains. And I just been I guess the defensive tag just sort of fell in my lap. And I was very, when Nikki asked me, what I would like to do in our meeting, I told her, I love to be on the defensive side. And she had enough confidence to let me focus in on the defensive side of the ball, which I'm really grateful for.
Tony, it's great to know you a little bit better and some of the great stories and how you and Nikki just kind of started that relationship and in your career. You were a student athlete at Langston. As, of course, a lot of people think about how great Hollywood Henderson was when he came out of Langston and played for the Cowboys from that same university. Thanks for your time, man. Congratulations on the share. I know you guys want to win it outright this weekend against Tech. Tony Green, Baylor women's basketball assistant coach, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
All right, we have had, we hope you've been able to weave through all of what we've had, looking back on the great career and the life of George DeLeon with Daryl Johnston and Blake Blackmar, Mack Rhoades, among others, the national college writer Kevin Sweeney, and then Tony Green as well. We're now joined in studio by someone we've gotten to know very well with the background and hard work of what's going on with ESPN+. T.L. Fiedler is the director-producer of Our Time about the Baylor men's and women's basketball programs and what a run they are on at this particular time. And I wanted to come in to the studio or by cell phone and just kind of give us a couple of things about what it's been like to be a part of this. TL, great to have you again. You've shot video of us. Now we're firing it right back at you. Thanks for your time. Has it been because of how the teams have been through a roller coaster, so to speak, even better than what you could have said? Hal, let's write this out.
For sure. I knew they were both successful programs coming in, had no idea where it would go. But to be honest, whether the roller coaster is going down or up, just getting to know the kids, the coaches, the people, that's what makes my job special, and they've exceeded my expectations of who they are as people. And I really mean that. Like I'm just so fortunate to be part of it. So yes, I'm happy they're both doing well, for the lack of a better word, but it's been so great to be part of it. Yep.
What's it like seeing the juxtaposition of a coach who's been here for 18, 19 years, and then one who's still until last week hadn't even closed on a new house yet, and Scott Drew and Nikki Collins?
Funny, we actually went to Nikki Collins' house yesterday and got a walkthrough. It's bare, completely empty, and she showed us around and was meeting with her interior designer. So she's brand new here, but certainly not brand new to what she does. So cool, confident. But to be honest, I throw a mic on each one of them pregame, an hour before the game, and follow them for 5 hours, basically. The confidence the same. The level of, skill and coaching is extraordinary. So it's I don't see a difference. I just know them as people, and I wasn't here, to see Scott's last 18 years or whatever it was, 19 years. So to me, they're just people, and I'm just kind of following them, and I've been impressed, obviously, with both of them.
What kind of a growth have you seen with Nikki and just this team getting to know each other early on? They had the COVID issues early on. And obviously there's a lot of people doubting, when they drop a couple games early, like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And just to see her on a regular basis kind of handle all of that and get to the point where they are now. What's that journey been like, just seeing that evolution?
Yeah, I mean, she's cool as a cucumber. She's just awesome. I mean, my first day, I remember interviewing her, and one of my interview questions was, what's it like playing with or having such a short bench? Then it just got shorter. So she hasn't had a deep bench, but what she's been able to accomplish is extraordinary. And we actually went to Iowa State with them Sunday night, and we're with them through that battle, or I should say that easy game for them. But yeah. But to see the look on her face, and the pure elation in the locker room and on all their faces is just, again, I don't know any different. I'm just following the journey and documenting what I see. But it's been great. I didn't doubt it for a second.
Yeah.
Do you've seen some unbelievable human interest in this time? Doesn't that help when you're running a series like this? And has the focus on Nalissa Smith run yet?
There's been, as far as a feature story.
Yeah, the interview with her mother.
So, okay, I'll answer it this way. I think week 1, week 2, week 3, I can't remember, maybe it was week 2. We did a little piece with her. She was painting. Our episodes are short, so it's we don't have a lot of time to do lengthy pieces. So we did a little piece with Nalissa last week, if I'm not mistaken, because I sometimes shoot a week or two in advance.
I know that.
Last week, Kansas game, correct? Yes. I jumped in the car with Nalissa's mom and dad and rode over to the game with them, and the dad was just kind of, I probably shouldn't give us away because the episode's not out yet.
That's fine.
No, but it's okay. But the dad was just kind of talking about, how he sends her a text message, pregame and expects certain things of her in a loving way. And then, mom wears this certain perfume that Nalissa gave her. And, she has these pregame rituals. And, she teared up a little bit because I guess, Nalissa had, a blood, something going on with her when she was 3 years old, infection or something, disease or whatever. So they almost lost her. And we don't get into that too deeply, and that's actually not part of the piece this week because we couldn't go that deep. But her mom was tearing up, thinking how proud she is of how far she's come. Obviously,
You know, I think one of the things that you think about the individual stories, whether it's the men's team or the women's, there's nobody's boring. Like nobody you would say like, man, there's just nothing going on there. You know, you've got nothing. You've got transfers from Scott's team, people coming in with Nikki, just so many different things. James Akinjo, is a story that people may just think of like, that's just a guy who came in here, but he's got levels to him that people don't even know. So yeah, you got lots of things to chase.
For sure. James, I guess, they say a little, he keeps to himself, quiet leader in some regard, but I was fortunate to go home with him to Oakland and just kind of see his world and where he came from and how that neighborhood that he's from in Oakland has like, the Acorn Projects is like severely, incredibly embraced him. They protect him. They've protected him since he was a kid because they saw his talent. And but I saw it firsthand because I remember walking with him. And as soon as we got out of the car, started walking. People were just crawling out of the woodwork, literally like kind of because he was there. His sort of group sort of thing. There was no texting going on. It wasn't like ESPN's here. They just all sort of knew his presence, and it was almost like Muhammad Ali-esque, which sounds really pathetic, and it's like, give me a break, so it's a little extreme. But I've never seen anything like it, and I've been around a lot of athletes, like a lot of professional athletes, but I've never seen sort of a protective layer around him in that neighborhood. So that was just cool, like eye-opening, and you can really see how much he's loved back home.
Have you caught Scott Drew in any bad moods that we haven't seen yet, or has it just been as positive as ever?
He's so fun to follow. Yeah, he's super fun to follow. The only bad mood I would say is the Kansas game when we were at Kansas. Like I was like, I was in that locker room. I was on that plane on the way home, and there wasn't a word spoken. So he had every right to be in a bad mood. But I wouldn't say bad mood. He just, he wanted to win. But no, he's amazing.
You were talking about clearing. We had him on the show the next day, and he was cracking jokes. I know. He was just it was like it didn't happen. I mean, or not, it didn't. But it was like, well, nothing you can do about it now. Might as well move forward.
Yeah.
I was in TV the first 10 years or so of my career. And I remember shooting features or games or whatever, and one of the things you learn is to not shoot too much because eventually you have so much. But you always want to get whatever you can. Then you go, how often do you find yourself? I mean, that's a dumb question. If anyone who's been in that business, it is enormous, is it not, to try to get it into a certain amount of time and then also everything that you and also your staff shoot all the time?
Well, okay, like threefold. The access we're getting here is unbelievable. First of all, the people are amazing. The whole town's amazing, but the two head coaches, the athletes, the athletic director, I mean, everyone's just exceptional. So the access has been 100%. The shows are short, they're 20 minutes. So like, if you really think about it, it's 10 minutes per team per week. So it's hard for me sometimes because I see something or I'm there or I'm like, oh, it's not going to make the show. So I wish they were longer because, we have so much great content and I could just I could shoot all day long, and they'll let us and they want to, so that's a little, frustrating is not the word, but yes, like we have meetings in advance, show 12, show 11, and we're in week 6. We have to think ahead because we know what's going to make it. So we try to, you know what I mean? We're not just fly on the wall all day long shooting whatever we get. We have, it's pretty structured. Yeah. It's pretty structured. Yeah.
It's something that unless you've been in the business, like a lot of other professions, you don't quite understand that how much you have to deal with and yet how much you only have so much time. I feel for you there. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is like the further I get through the season, the more you get to know people, and it's like, even Scott, he's great because he'll just say, oh, I have an idea, and his ideas are always great. But we might not have room for it in the show. So it's like, week 1, is kind of, trying to, not think up story ideas, but like, is it okay? Will they want to do it? Now I know everybody will do something and they're all open arms and we don't have a lot of time left, Yeah. So hopefully next year we can do 1.5 weekly shows, 12 shows. No.
Well, I mean, you do. If you have 10 minutes per team, it's almost like, well, this story that I really like is going to have to go. Like, you have to do that. You do it. Do you have to storyboard it and be like, well, this is the one thing that has to go? Like, what's the decision making on cutting something?
Like I was trying to say, like, weeks in advance, like 2 shows in advance, we know what's going to be in the show. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like, okay, let's shoot with athlete A, or you know what I'm saying, without getting into too much detail. Like we did a Waco episode, and we knew, we want to shoot with, well, Queen was sort of up next sort of thing. So we're like, what could we do with her and sort of merge Baylor basketball with Waco, so we took her to Magnolia. And it just worked. We didn't know if it was going to work. She'd never been there before. It's not like it was her favorite place, but it just kind of worked. So you just never know. But I also took her to get her nails done, but that didn't make it. You know what I mean? So, we could shoot all day long, but, we have to be selective.
What's it like to see where they've arrived now at this point? I mean, you guys you had a good idea that they'd be good teams, obviously, because of their history. But, I mean, to see the positions they put themselves in now and to have seen kind of the journey, it hasn't been easy for the men with the injuries and whatnot. It hasn't been easy for the women with all they've gone through. But to see them where they are now here towards the end, I mean, has to work well for you guys and the show, but also just getting to know these people, I think that'd be, a cool deal.
I mean, it's not about me at all.
Right.
I'm just kind of watching through a lens sort of thing, but I'm so fortunate to be part of it because very few people are able to see it firsthand that aren't, on the team.
Mm-hmm.
But to see it happening and unfold and there's, happiness and wins and elation. We were, again, I was with Iowa State, with the women's team at Iowa State, and, the win couldn't have been any bigger and any more beautiful. And then we all get on a plane and we're watching the guys' game. It's like I can't be away from it. I got to know what's going on, because I'm invested. I care. I really want to see them both do well. Again, it's not about me, but I care now. I'm not just a fan. It's like I'm with them. And if I'm not with them, it's like I don't like it.
No, it's like a child who's gone off to college or something like that.
I want to be there.
Well, in fact, there's a quote, and I don't know who he said it to or who is the one that quoted Adam Flagler after their win Monday night. One of the first things he asked was, did the women win?
Yeah.
And, and so that's how close these two teams, it seemed to be, especially now maybe more than ever with Nikki now as the coach. You started back in the mid-'90s, ABC Sports among others. You've been everywhere. I mean, I mentioned this, Amobi Okoye, you were in Nigeria, Special Olympics, 10 different countries. I mean, this has been a nice little journey for you. I know you say it's not about you, but it is about you right now because we're asking you. This has been a fun career for you.
Oh, I love it.
Or has it?
I love my life, yeah. I'm all over the place. I do a lot of shoots internationally. Again, I shoot also, and I do my own audio. So my forte is just embedding with people, and usually it's one-on-one. I've never done teams before, so this is a little different. But it's usually just I do a lot with the NFL. So I'm very tight with a lot of players, a lot of good people with really fun stories. So yeah, I've kind of been everywhere. I have some favorite stories, favorite moments, favorite players. It's been amazing. I love my life.
What were your expectations of Waco, Texas, when you were told you're going to end up spending a lot of time here, and what have you learned now that you've been here this long?
Good question. I will say, back in the day, I want to say 1997, 8, 9, or around that era, I was at ABC Sports, and I was trying to find my way, and I did live graphics for college football. That's what I did, and I didn't know football. Now I do. I didn't at the time. So I would travel to games. So I was all over the place. Went to Texas. I don't think I went to Baylor, but I've been through here. So I've been to a lot of different places. I do know I didn't have the best. I didn't know a lot about Waco, but I didn't hear a lot of great things. Let's put it that way.
Everybody knows the Branch Davidians, basically. That was what it was for the longest time. Yeah.
And I knew all that. It's not USC, but you know what I mean. We're on the beach in LA.
Right.
I'd be like, all right, let's go. So at first I was like, all right, I didn't know a lot about the two teams. I didn't know a lot about Baylor in general, to be honest, and I didn't know much about Waco. But I will tell you the one thing, and I really, really mean this, besides the teams, the two coaches, and the players, and Mack Rhoades, and just being embraced by the school, this town is amazing. And it's amazing because every single human being, and I'm not just saying this, that I've met or that I've asked to shoot at their establishment, or just driving down the road and people don't beep at you, I have never, ever, ever experienced the type of love's the wrong word. People are so nice here. I'm a New Yorker.
Yeah.
And I drive really well in New York City. I am the best driver. I get bumped from behind the Lincoln Tunnel, and you have a little confrontation. That's me. And I'm also very chill, but I've never ever been in such a nice town, and I really mean that.
You know, I got to tell you this.
People
I'm not
don't
from
beat.
Waco.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I got goosebumps
Yeah.
when you mentioned that because
It's a
there's so
special
many
place.
misconceptions about places, including Waco, and how much they've grown and where they've been in the last 7 to 10 years or where they were before. That's awesome.
People don't beep. That's interesting because there are many places in the country you could go be doing a stand-up out on the street, and people are going to try, look, I'm going to be on TV. No,
Yeah.
you're not.
Yeah.
You're not now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's interesting.
That's awesome. Thank you. I know you got some downtime. The last thing you want to do is do what you do for a living and come in and be interviewed rather than the opposite way.
No, it's okay. I will say I'm not used to this part. It's a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And when I'll put like a microphone on somebody and expect them to, be comfortable. So
Let me tell you something about TL. She won a Telly Award. She won a Sports Emmy for what you've done. And I think sometimes when we see what we see with documentaries, or in this case, Our Time on ESPN Plus in the series, sometimes we just see what the series is about, but it's also there's a story behind who's a part of it. Your staff is amazing. They've been fantastic. They've been in our studio. It's almost like they're a part of our family as well. Thank you so much for sharing the stories behind the scenes. Good luck the rest of the way. What episode now has aired? Is it 7 or 8?
So 9 comes out.
9.
Is today Wednesday? 9 comes out tomorrow.
Tonight, okay.
Yep. And then we have 10, 11, and 12.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. We appreciate you and all the things you've said. Thank you.
Same. Thank you so
TL
much.
Fiedler, ESPN Plus director, producer, Our Time, the documentary, the series on ESPN Plus. And again, number 9, episode 9 comes out tomorrow. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. Just a quick note about what they have. And what they have, live crawfish. It's that time of the year. It opened up about 2 weeks ago. They have 30-pound sacks of live crawfish for you, and the price can fluctuate. Last week it was $4.35 a pound, and I think the week before that it was $4.50. A lot of it might be the supply and demand. Here is the bottom line. If you can contact them today before 6, when they close, which you have a little less than an hour, you can order your 30-pound sacks of live crawfish. Pick them up anytime after 4 o'clock Friday or throughout the day Saturday, and enjoy. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Brad Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show. Necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John Machota of The Athletic, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
All right, here we go. And thanks to TL Fiedler for her time with us in studio. We'll hear from John Machota here momentarily. He's at the NFL Combine. I don't know if you heard this, and I did hear this from a station in Dallas, 105.3 The Fan. I was sitting there listening to him for a second. And we're going to get to some of the chat room. We need to do that. What's the tight end from A&M?
Jalen Weidermeyer.
You hear about this? Someone asked him what tight end was his favorite tight end, and who does he want to emulate? Or he said Aaron Hernandez.
Oh man!
I mean, he's just talking about the style. That's probably not a very good answer.
I mean, he was a good player, but yeah, that's not what anybody thinks of with Aaron Hernandez anymore at all, I don't think. I mean, maybe there's some random person that you hear that name and you go, oh, yeah, a great Patriot. Remember that game where I just remember the murders he was accused of, I mean, at this point. So not the greatest answer in that regard, but I mean, Hernandez was a good player for a time.
Makes me not want to mess with Jalen Weidermeyer, though.
Yeah.
I'm not going to even get the quest for 80. I know we have John from Paula, by the way. Texas hospitality is top-notch. And M. Krausen, thank you, TL. Really enjoying your work, and we will pass that along to her. We're joined by John Machota. The NFL Combine in Indianapolis, it's a huge week. It's an interview week. It's a little bit different at times, and because of some of the give and take on what people will do or not do in the bubble, which has been popped or whatever. John, thanks for your time. How much have you learned? Anything new? And I know you have to be there because it's Steven or Jerry or Mike McCarthy. Anything from what any of them have said that's kind of caught your interest the most?
Well, I'd say number one is just Mike McCarthy revealing yesterday that Dak Prescott had a shoulder surgery last week. Now it's a clean-up surgery. It's not anything of major concern, but when you just start piecing together, Dak Prescott, starting quarterback of the Cowboys, first 4 years, never misses a game, never any injury, any concern at all. I mean, you're just kind of like, oh, this guy is, he's built like a linebacker, and he can just, run 5, 6, 7, 8 times a game, and he won't, take any pounding. And now, he's 28, going to be 29. And in the last 16 months, he's had 3 surgeries and 4 different injuries, going back to when he suffered that gruesome ankle injury. And then obviously then he had the lat strain, then he had the calf strain, and then now this left shoulder injury, just kind of adding up. So, I mean, that obviously, even though none of these injuries should affect him in terms of the offseason program or anything like that, it's still a lot of injuries stacking up on your franchise quarterback and your highest paid player.
John, let me see if I can sum up Stephen Jones. DeMarcus Lawrence and Amari Cooper, too early to say anything. Zeke Elliott, there's nothing we can do about his contract, so he's going to be here anyway, so might as well seek the positives. And am I missing anything?
No, you hit the nail right on the head. That's exactly what it was. If the contracts were different, let's say, Zeke had Amari Cooper's contract, the tone would have likely been different. If Amari Cooper had Zeke's contract or DeMarcus Lawrence had Zeke's contract, the tone would have been different with them too, because it's one thing to have your contract guaranteed, then it's like, where, this guy's going to be here. Why would it make sense to be critical of what he's done? But with the others, they're looking at, if not releasing, asking for pay cuts, things like that. So it's obviously a big contrast between the two, and it's because of their contract situation. I've seen a lot of people mention, like, well, they've played better than Zeke. Well, yeah, their contracts are different. They're not saving any money with Zeke's contract. It's fully guaranteed for this upcoming season. Now, a year from now, they could make that type of a move, but it just wouldn't make any sense to make it right now. With Amari Cooper and DeMarcus Lawrence, that's a different story. And so, the tone out here certainly seems like there's a good chance that one, if not both, could potentially not be on the Cowboys during the 2022 season.
What did you think of the way he handled the response to talking about Sean Payton and just, obviously all the rumors that started flying a couple of weeks ago and stories that were written and whatnot. But I know he talked about that. How do you feel like he addressed it?
I thought it was a good way to kind of get it out there, and I thought he was pretty clear about it too. Mike McCarthy was on the podium about 10, 15 minutes, and then a group of reporters, we went and had lunch with them, and so there was like another probably about 20, 25 minutes on the record, and then there was a bunch off the record, and I thought he handled it well. There's the things he said about it. I think any head coach in his position would say that too, and no coach wants to hear about this other guy that's out there potentially taking your job. That's just going to cause a distraction for anyone. And, he's friends with Sean Payton. Mike McCarthy's daughter and Sean Payton's daughter are friends, so it gets into where fans and, even media, it's like sometimes you just look at the football side of it and there's obviously more to it, but it's very clear that he's well aware of the connection between, the Cowboys and Sean Payton, and he knows that that's kind of what comes with the dinner with being the Dallas Cowboys head coach. And so it's clear that he doesn't mind addressing it, but I don't think it's something he wants to deal with all season long, are questions if things aren't going well about Sean Payton, that's for sure.
John, follow my train of thought here. Now, last year was a nice window for the Cowboys, given the talent they had on the team. Now they're in salary cap jail, and at least for a little while. And the offensive line, which they thought was going to be a lot better than it was, is now a tremendous position of need. You may have to release guys where you also have positions of need. Could this be, I don't want to call it a rebuild, but a soft reboot year because they're just in that position and that's where they have to go, and not necessarily one where they can maximize the window that they have with Dak Prescott?
I don't know if I would call it even a soft reboot. I think it's just continuing to build on like their young talent. If Amari Cooper and DeMarcus Lawrence had performed a little bit better on the field, I don't know that they're in the situations they are now. And you look at Lawrence and Randy Gregory; these are guys that are around 30 years of age, and so you have to make some tough decisions there. And they also want to make sure that they have space in the future to, potentially resign Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb. And so they don't want to put themselves in a position to where they can't afford to keep one of those guys, because that is not only the future. I mean, all those guys made their first Pro Bowl this year. They want to make sure that they can keep all of them around. So, I don't know. I just feel like they're just trying to build as best as they can financially on what they did last year. But at the same time, I think if they go further in the playoffs, I think that I think that they try and keep Amari Cooper, DeMarcus Lawrence a little bit more than they're going to try this offseason. I don't believe that if they would have made it to the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl, that they're not trying to run it back a little bit more with the same roster. I think they're trying to, hey, we came up short in the wild card round. Let's try and make some moves, and let's try and build the roster as best we can to kind of put ourselves back in a similar situation. But in all honesty, they can say whatever they want. It does. Removing Amari Cooper and DeMarcus Lawrence, this team is not going to be better on paper. I don't care what they do in the draft.
What's more important for you this week, John? Anything that anything I mentioned about those in charge, McCarthy, obviously coaches, or Steven and Jerry, whoever, or seeing maybe those who you know that would fit what the Cowboys need?
When you talk about Jerry and Steven, what do you mean?
Anything they say, you've got to know. I mean, that's part of you. If they're at like Kmart, are there even Kmarts anymore?
No.
If they're at Sears, I don't even know if there's Sears anymore. But wherever, you know what I mean?
Name an actual brand. You're naming all the brands that don't even exist anymore.
Orange Julius.
Yeah.
They're at Steak and Ale.
If they're at the combine and they say something, and you have to know everything that's being said, that's part of the job of running around covering the Cowboys. Or is it important for you to also kind of have some due diligence and background on guys that might be on the Cowboys' radar, even if you don't know who those might be at this time?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of both of those things. I mean, I'd say I prioritize more on being wherever McCarthy, Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones are, but they're also out and about, generally speaking, most years more so than other teams. And so, when you talk to writers that cover other teams, one of the first things that they'll mention is, I just can't believe how much you guys get to talk to the owners and, GM and all that stuff. So because they're available, I think for me personally, I gravitate towards that a little bit more. Whereas let's say you cover an organization that maybe you don't get a lot of that access. We'll say, just by example, let's say the Steelers or Ravens, you might spend more of your time, on what could be added and things like that. The other thing that factors into that is that with the Cowboys, this isn't like a 1 year, 2 year thing. Like, they've got a pretty good reputation now that, the majority of their free agents are going to be trying to re-sign guys that are already on the roster. Like, they're not a team that's going to make a big splash in free agency, but all of a sudden you're just like, wow, the Cowboys are they're making a hard push to go get, I don't know, Devontae Adams or something. Like, you just know that they're not going to do that. That's just not how they're building this thing. They put a lot of emphasis on the draft and then signing their own, and that isn't changing. And so because of that, for me, the top of the line is making sure that I'm around Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, Mike McCarthy, et cetera. Obviously the other Cowboys coaches, like I just saw, John Postle and Dan Quinn, talk to them briefly, like a lot more of that than I'd say maybe what they're going to sign in free agency. Because frankly, what they're going to sign in free agency that's not already on the roster this past season, I don't know that it's going to move the needle a ton anyway.
Anything else?
John, are there guys this week that you're watching at the Combine, you in particular, that you think have Cowboys written all over them?
I'll say this, not as much as in previous years, but because of DeMarcus Lawrence, because of Amari Cooper talking about them, I don't know how you would release either or both and not have those two positions pretty high on the board. Like, can Micah Parsons be an elite edge rusher? Yes, I think he already is. Could they potentially bring back Randy Gregory? Sure. If you lose DeMarcus Lawrence, you still need to go after edge rusher really high in this draft, as early as 24. And you can say the same thing for wide receiver. It's a really good wide receiver class, but I'd argue that most of them have been recently. But you could take wide receiver as high as 24 if you're cutting ties with Amari Cooper. So I think those two positions probably more so I'm focused on than maybe I would have been a month or two ago. And then the other one I'd mention is probably this tight end class. And talking to Dane Brugler earlier today, he doesn't look at them there being like a tight end worthy of 24, but second or third round, because you got to look at Dalton Schultz. It's going to be tough, and I don't think that they're going to be able to re-sign him. I just think that the way he's played the last 2 years, kind of priced himself out of the market. So if I was listing like the top three positions that I'm going to be trying to talk to prospects, it's probably, defensive end, wide receiver, and tight end.
Hey, John, thank you, man. Appreciate it. It's that kind of fun time. It's almost like Candyland with all the prospects at the Combine and also eventually with free agency. John Machota, Sikkim 365 Radio, every Wednesday in the 5 o'clock hour. He's with theathletic.com. And I should have mentioned this to John. I've mentioned this when we've had the others who are part of the higher level of writers, and even those that like Feldman or obviously Max Olson, Sam Kahn, et cetera. There's a thread on Sikkim365.com in the premium section that had the story from C.J. Moore that behind the scenes with Baylor the last 3 or 4 days. And I have said this, and you've heard me say this. It is the only subscription that I have. We have memberships to Sikkim365.com, and of course, we'd love for you to be a premium member and all the other things we have. But it's the only one of any media outlet in which I spend a penny each month. and it's theathletic.com. It is
buy
well
two.
worth. It is
It's two.
It's well worth.
Budget 2.
What?
Us and The Athletic.
Well, no, I'm saying me.
Yeah.
And then that's why I was saying we'd love for you to be a part of the premium section, very much so. And then that's even growing. But also theathletic.com. It's truly a great site with what they've done. Even with the change in ownership, it has not affected anything that I can tell with the writing and the coverage and in-depth stuff that they do. And CJ Moore can sit there and write a story and make you feel like you're right there, exactly watching everything. All right, when we come back, Paul Catalina's top 5 here in just a moment. I think we've covered all of the daily stuff. Craig, is this part of your off the radar tomorrow?
No.
Matt Corral, remember him? Baylor does, Ole Miss does. He was at the Combine earlier today and said he had no regrets about playing in the Sugar Bowl back in January, and he's on track to be full speed at his pro day March the 24th. He will not throw at the Combine because he's still recovering from the right ankle injury suffered against Baylor. Multiple teams have asked him in formal interviews at the Combine whether he regretted playing in the bowl game and not opting out. He said, "They asked if I regretted it. Absolutely not. I never thought about opting out. It was never a thought in my mind. I was going to play regardless." And he mentioned that leading up to the bowl game. And he's been throwing and running for about 2.5 weeks. So good for him. Matt Corral, who was unfortunately injured in that Sugar Bowl game against Baylor.
Yeah, I admire him for playing. Of course, I don't.
Bowl games, turn out to be bad luck for some guys, and hey, it's just a roll of the dice. I'm not going to sit there and bag on anybody for making a decision one way or the other. It's their life. Why does Joe Schmo in Brooklyn or Todd in Detroit on the, what is their opinion about Matt Corral and his life and him wanting to play in this bowl game matter? It doesn't. What does my opinion on his decision making matter? It doesn't. So he wanted to play in the game. He chose to. Unfortunately, he got hurt. And that's just part of the dice roll is when you go out there and strap him up, there's a good chance that you could walk away and have an injury of some sort. And I'm just very thankful mostly that, really my biggest thought is that I'm just glad that it wasn't worse. It looked like it could have been a lot worse. The way that he was pulled down and landed and all that, he could have been looking at an entire rookie year wiped out potentially, and that was the fear originally. So it was a bummer to see him get knocked out of that game. I still think Baylor wins that game, even if he plays the rest of the way. We'll never know, of course, but I hated it, and I was really glad that it turned out to not be the worst case scenario because I thought he handled himself really well, and I wish him the best.
I agree. I liked his moxie. It happened in the first quarter. And it's getting beat up in the game.
It's easy to go there's the guy that got hurt and decided to play a playoff game, but there's dozens of other guys that do the same thing, and they don't get hurt, and we don't talk about it because obviously we're going to focus on the guy that gets hurt. So I think that the percentage of that happening is pretty darn low, although the reaction might be pretty loud at the time. But yeah, It comes down to just luck, basically. Whether you believe it or not, there is some element of luck. It's the only way you can really explain certain things, and he had a bit of bad luck that day, unfortunately.
No question about it, and good luck to him in his career. And he's one of the guys in that, how quarterbacks, no matter what, it's kind of like it rises to the top at some point, that position. And right now you go, who's going to be a first-round pick? The kid at Pittsburgh, Pickett? Is it going to be Malik Willis at is it Liberty? Could Corral be a part of that? Who is it? And then there's always ends up being maybe one or two more. No one's really highly ranked, although there are teams that obviously need quarterbacks. And I see Pickett sometimes in some mocks that are looking at Washington at whatever their pick is. Coming up next, Paul Catalina's top 5 at 5.
I hate that for him because that just means he's going to be a bust. That's all Washington drafts is quarterback bust, basically. When's the last quarterback they hit on? RG3 got hurt. Kirk Cousins they couldn't even get along with at the end. It was a joke there that he would be cursed by Washington. But hey, if he can play, they could sure use him.
All right, when we come back, and I got to read this off of the chat room from Robert Akinjo. Just keeps getting better. Soft touch, bash the stick. Talk soft and bash the stick from others about TL and her segment with us as well. And then this one here, I don't quite understand anyone.
Don't even get into it, Smokey, because then you're just giving them time.
All right, I won't. I made myself clear on the chat room to Quest for 80 and Drum Corps Collection. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Right now, Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, they start a new month, and they continue the championship drive, celebrating Baylor's Big 12 and also Sugar Bowl championship in football and what they're now doing in men's and women's basketball. And their inventory, both new car and pre-owned cars, continues to be beefed up on the lot. And they can do that because of so many connections, the network that they have with the Allen Samuels dealerships around the country. I've driven that Wagoneer 2 Series. There are still dealer discounts and incentives available. I've driven that Wagoneer Series 2. It's fantastic. Big, spacious SUV. The one that's the Wagoneer Series 3 is incredible. And there's so many bells and whistles. And I got to tell you, I would suggest if you're looking for an SUV, and there are some great options everywhere, but if you have not driven a Wagoneer Series 2 or 3, I'm asking you to do that. I'm asking you to just give it that time if you go to the dealership at Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco. You can go online, AllenSamuelsDCJ.com, for a lot of the different specials. In fact, shop and buy from home, build your deal online, and they will deliver the car to you. Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Tell Ted Teague we said hello. He listens to us all the time, and we appreciate that. Come by. Let's be friends.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Engel with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online, pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. In a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Top 5 NFL Combine superstar busts. These are people who were superstars of the Combine, shot up the list, shot up the boards, and ultimately were busts. Number 5, Bengals quarterback Akili Smith. Ran in the 4.6s, had some great, passing and all that. But ultimately, here was Akili Smith's career. He was 215, a 461, 5 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 2,212 passing yards over, 6 seasons in the NFL.
Well, he played longer than any of us did, but you're right.
Yes.
That's not his fault. He shot up the charts. He was a combine freak, right?
Only had statistics in 1997, 1998. The rest of the time he was a backup, and then played a little bit in the World League. But Akili Smith was disappointing.
And I got to go ahead, Craig.
No, I mean, good athlete and all that. I was too young to really remember much of the draft buzz about him. I mean, I remember it, but I don't remember specifically what the talk was about him, like weaknesses, strengths, and things like that. But, really good Oregon team. Oregon right there with their rise around that time period of, I guess you're going back almost 25 years or so for them. And he was certainly one of their great they're great stars during their initial rise, but yeah, in the NFL, just completely flamed out.
Yeah, number 4.
You know who he originally signed with, Akili Smith? San Diego State. But his test scores were low. Ended up going.
Flamed out of the NFL after 2 seasons with a total of 93 career receptions for 1,280 yards and 6 touchdowns. And his personal demons are what overtook him. But at the Combine, a lot of times people know about that stuff beforehand when you pick somebody 5th. But the Jaguars whiffed on that one hard.
You almost wonder if the Patriots drafted, and I know they had Aaron Hernandez, and nobody's perfect, but I get really sick of it's the same 4 and 5 teams with every single one of these guys. It's the same. It's the Lions. It's the Jaguars. It's Washington. It's the
Bengals
same
for a long time until now.
Teams every single time, and the same teams picking the following year. And the Jaguars will be a top 5 pick again next year. But no, Justin Blackmon. I mean, he was probably doomed regardless. But then you go to Jacksonville as well. I don't know kind of if that played it all into it or if he was just going to be doomed regardless. But yeah, it's just the same teams all the time. But yeah, he's an awful story. I mean, as far as, how he turned out, obviously had very bad issues with alcohol, and that's tough for anybody who's dealing with those issues. And a lot of people just drowned in that, and they can't get their head above water. And clearly he was one of those guys that could not. And yeah, it just seemed like there was a stretch there where almost like every 2 days you were hearing a story about Justin Blackmon, or at least it felt that way. And man, he was there's another Dez, I mean, he was a stud out on the field, but yeah, just could not get his personal life right.
I'm glad you brought up Dez. Dez was like an inch taller, a slightly thicker, but I thought that's who it was, and maybe because it's the same uniform. But that's why there's no, Peyton Manning, yes, but then there's also for every Peyton Manning, there's another miss. It is amazing how hard it is to get this right and how sometimes fortunate you have to be. Even if, let's say they had not taken him, somebody else would have taken him in the next, the next slot, right? Or the next team that needed a wide receiver.
Well, that's what I'm foggy on is I don't remember how much of, and I'm not looking or anything. I mean, I don't know how much of that might have been known previously. That he had an alcohol issue or a substance, because we know how thorough they go. And so did the Jaguars know there was a risk and then just draft him anyway? Well, that's why they're the Jaguars. Or was that maybe something that most NFL teams didn't think was going to be an issue, and then it turned out to be a major issue? I don't know on that, but yeah, it just turned out sad regardless.
It's interesting that you say, Craig, that it's the same teams that do it over and over again.
Well, he was the 5th pick. Let's go. I know. So Morris Claiborne ended up being average, right? Mark Barron, Ryan Tannehill, Luke Kuechly, hell of a player, was drafted 4 spots later. Stephen Gilmore, Fletcher Cox,
Stephon Gilmore,
Fletcher Cox, Kellen Kendall Wright was drafted. That was also one that just didn't work out. Yeah, there's not like 20 guys right behind him. But
we were at his draft.
Yeah,
we Justin Blackmar. All right, number 3. If you mention, you threw off my rhythm here, Smokey. It's funny you mentioned this, Craig, that the same teams do this over and over again, and you think the Jaguars would learn their lesson before they drafted Justin Blackmon when they drafted Matt Jones at number 21. Matt Jones is a 5-6 quarterback at Arkansas, and then transitioned to wide receiver as he got ready for the NFL draft. Here are his measurables, and this is why he, all of a sudden, having never played wide receiver, teams thought, oh my gosh, this guy's going to be a freak. 6 foot 6 1/4 inches, 242, 33 1/8 inch arm span, 9.5 inch hands, a 40-yard dash at 4.37. His 10-yard split was 1.55. His 20-yard shuttle was 4.09. Bench press at 20 reps. Broad jump, 10 feet 9. A 39.5-inch vertical. This guy can't miss. Cocaine is undefeated.
You're right.
And that's what happened to Matt Jones.
And you know what? If they watched any of the highlights against Texas when he was in college, you would have drafted him number 1 overall.
Yeah.
He was magnificent against the Horns.
But 21st overall pick, finished with 166 career receptions for 2,153 yards and 15 touchdowns. But ultimately, his personal demons once again overtook him. I don't know if he's doing well now. Who knows?
Hope.
I hope he is. But again, Matt Jones was someone, and honestly should not have been a first-round pick. Should have probably been a second or third. But those measurables got people excited.
You wonder, you're right. How many players that we know of who had a cocaine issue were successful? Lawrence Taylor? Michael Irvin?
I mean, the ones we know.
Yeah.
I think there's probably a bunch that we have no idea about. That was probably great.
Guys who were able to still perform despite what had been publicized and or admitted or discussed. Okay.
All right, number 2 from the 2008 NFL Draft, Vernon Gholston went 6th overall to the Jets, 6'3", 266, 4.58 at defensive end, and a 20-yard shuttle of 4.41, 3-cone drill, 7.12, a 42-inch vertical jump, 10.5 foot broad jump, 37 reps on the bench press, and a 21 Wonderlic for Vernon Gholston. And here's a guy out of Ohio State, played for the Jets for 3 seasons, the Bears for 1, and the Rams for 1, only on the practice squad, had a 3-year NFL career, 0 career NFL sacks. He probably should have been number 1 on this list, but the guy who's number 1 on the list is well known, and if I didn't do it, the video would get ripped. But Vernon Gholston, there's not many things you can say about his NFL career.
They needed to upgrade it. I'm looking at the draft, the overview from like 10 years later. They needed an outside linebacker, 3-4 defense. They made him their answer, right? Or they thought he was the answer. Man. The Jets are another one of those teams that's on that list, whether it's quarterbacks or whatever else as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And number 1, Mike Mamula.
Look at that name I wrote down.
Yeah, I knew you were going to write it down. Mike Mamula from Boston College. And he was someone who I don't think anybody had ever heard of at all, unless you followed Boston College. And I'm trying to find, okay, here we go. Here's his pre-draft measurables at 6'4", 252. 4.58, 40-yard dash. 4.03 20-yard shuttle, 38.5-inch vertical jump, 10.5 foot broad jump, 26 reps on the bench press, and a Wonderlic of 49, which is, I believe, one off from the perfect score.
Wow.
So Mike Mamula did everything right at the combine. His NFL career wasn't nearly as bad as some people may think. He played 5 seasons, had 31.5 overall sacks over 5 seasons. Not what they signed up for, a career high of 8. Just was never the guy that the Eagles wanted him to be, injured a lot. But Mike Mamula was from nowhere to the 14th pick in the draft.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody thinks that. Maybe if you're a Boston College fan, you hear that name and you think of something different than draft bust. But I think pretty much the entire world hears Mike Mamula and they think draft bust. And, man, a lot of great athletes. Great athletes on this list. Cool measurables. can't play football that well in the NFL level. So, like, I can't wait for who's the big freak athlete that we're going to pump up. And look, it's the same 5 teams over and over. Oh, tremendous athlete. Well, what about as a football player? Yeah. As an NFL football player, how do they work out? And look, like cocaine, you can't, that's not part of the equation for everybody. And that's going to wash some guys out. As it clearly did based on your list. But, just going the perfect athlete route, Raiders did that for a really long time. And where did it really get them in the long run?
Well, like Darius Hayward-Bay, like I bet 8 or 9 guys.
Just go to the Raiders draft for best athletes who turned out to be
Russell.
Yeah, it turned out to be busts, and there'll be a litany of them because that's not the way to do things. Like, you can get away with just drafting a freak athlete, but like these guys that go from like high second rounders, all of a sudden they're in the top 10 because they ran a 4.3. I'm just like, well, what changed? Like, he's a half a second faster, or 10th of a second faster. I think that's part of the combine process that gets a little bit overblown, clearly on occasion.
Is Henry Ruggs a bust?
No, I would say. Well, he was going to be a first-round draft pick, combine or not.
Well, he's another one of those Raiders receivers, but he's fast as hell.
That wasn't a draft bust, though. That was a life bust.
Michael David Smith wrote a story about Mike Mamula, and it might kind of counter some of what we think. First of all, at Boston College, he had like 40 career sacks. He had a huge game against the number 1 ranked team in the country, had 17 sacks, I think, his senior year. So he was a very good college football player.
Yeah.
But 7th overall pick didn't work out. And he absolutely, when I thought about the combine, and he was known as a combine freak, he was a hell of a player at Boston College.
But this is also where I do think guys like Mel Kiper and Todd McShay in particular, and I'm not trying to, like Mel Kiper does, they do really in-depth work, but they do get obsessed with that workout. And then you see those things, it's like, oh my gosh, he did all this. And you're like, I remember Todd McShay talking about Jamarcus Russell's workout and be like, oh, all right, great.
Yeah, I mean, great athlete, great, but there's other intangibles. So I think sometimes we do get caught up on the athlete part. And to clarify, Mike Mamula, saying if you ask somebody in 2021 or in the last 10 years, tell me something about Mike Mamula, if they're not a Boston College fan or it's like a college football diehard, they're probably telling you draft bust. Like, that's what I'm saying. He had a great career at Boston College. Like, I'm not denying that in any way. I don't want to make light of him as a player, but yeah, in terms of hearing his name recognition now, it's absolutely draft bust. Yeah.
All right, thanks to everybody, man. We were packed today, and thanks for your patience on us moving a couple of segments around, and we'll have more again tomorrow. We start work on that as well tomorrow. Paul Catalina and his top 5 at the end. Craig Smoak as well. As always, Craig had no laptop today. He's like, it's like without a cell phone. Some people can't live without it, but he's been able to get through it. Jack McKenzie, Emery Winter, Armstrong Sims.
I would be more surprised if Craig came, or less surprised if he just came without a shirt on one day than without his laptop.
We might do that.
I will.
We might do that. We might absolutely do that. All right, for Armstrong Sims and again, Jack and Emery from behind the scenes, thanks to all of our guests in the studio, on the phone, and throughout. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.